Wow, the subscribers have exceeded 20,000. Has it already increased that much? Just a while ago, it was only 8,000, but now it is more than double of it. Every day, the interest in Seong Ji-han keeps growing. Lee Hae-yeon felt anxious. Why is it rising so quickly? If it continues like this, the US or China might come with a lot of money to recruit him. The bald guy from the Neo Self-Defense Force has also been trying to get him. Right. I saw the chat, and it was disgusting. But at least Seong Ji-han won't go to them because of the Sword King. I'm worried about the guilds in the US or China. Their spending scale is different. That's true. Lee Hae-yeon bit her nails anxiously. It's a habit that comes out when she's in a tight spot. Lim Gaeong shook her head, seeing her act like that. Miss, don't do that. What are you talking about? Biting your nails. It has never led to a good result for you. It's not always like that. While saying that, Lee Hae-yeon quickly took her hand out of her mouth. She suddenly stood up from her seat. We can't just sit here, Gaeong. Quote. Let's go to the parking lot first. We'll set up a tent there. Am I going too? Of course. Do you expect me to go alone? Isn't it scary? You said you were trembling just thinking about BattleNet Academy. She remembered Lee Hae-yeon, who used to complain about the expensive tuition of BattleNet Academy and the terrible gifts they provided, while downing alcohol. She had sworn never to go near BattleNet Academy again just the other day. Seong Ji-han is worth it. But why spend the night there when she could just leave early in the morning? Lim Gaeong tried to calm the rushing Lee Hae-yeon. Miss, you'll look bad if you sleep there. You should go fully prepared. What are you talking about? I look fine even without makeup. That's not what I meant. The logic was that to persuade Seong Ji-han, she had to be in her best condition. I get it, but didn't he say he doesn't know his phone number? That guy. Does he like men? We need to be fully prepared to test that out. Fine. I'll cancel the tent idea. In the end, Lee Hae-yeon's tent plan was successfully thwarted. Mission type. Survival. Coliseum map. The game that Seong Ji-han had been dominating since long ago. It's over. Are we going to see another massacre today? Survival is so boring, lol, seriously, it ends too easily. Viewers who came into Seong Ji-han's broadcast already anticipated the outcome. Seong Ji-han, who had cut the flesh golem in half, would surely not even get a scratch from Bronze League players. The players participating in the survival thought the same too. It's Seong Ji-han, darn, my luck is the worst. Why is he playing the game at this time? Players grimaced upon seeing Seong Ji-han, who was not even in armor but in casual sportswear. The game will start soon. Run. As soon as the game started, they scattered in all directions. Being the first to die means being last, so to avoid penalties, they desperately tried to escape. However, I'm sorry it had to be this way. Nameless divine arts footwork technique. Flashing sky thunder steps. With a face showing no remorse, Seong Ji-han chased them in the blink of an eye. He was definitely behind just a moment ago. A player screamed as if he saw a ghost upon realizing Seong Ji-han was right in front of him when he tried to take a step. Thud. Seong Ji-han effortlessly stole his weapon, increasing his score, and immediately pursued the other fleeing players. He's just annihilating them. Seriously, the players can't even stand against him, they're shamefully running away. Tisk. Even if they tried to fight, they'd be defeated in a second lol. But if they run, at least 1 out of 10 might survive. Like a wolf among sheep, Seong Ji-han displayed a massacre. The outcome of this game was clear to everyone. You have ranked first in the survival game. Given that today's game was survival, it was an expected result. The viewers who were watching the broadcast, as expected, first place, no status window revealed today too. It's a survival map, of course. Did everyone see them running away as soon as Seong Ji-han appeared? I would run too lol after the game ended. As soon as Seong Ji-han was able to view the chat, messages began flooding in from Takeda asking him to open his private message box. Mr. Seong, you're so strong. You truly don't belong here. If you open your private messages, I'll make an astonishing offer to you. That guy doesn't say much when Seong Ji-han is gaming, he's really going all out to recruit him. After taking the Sword King, now they want to snatch up our promising rookies? Truly relentless. If you're Korean, please don't go to Japan. After briefly watching the flood of messages, Seong Ji-han satisfied the viewers with a short response. Yes, I'm not going anywhere. You've been awarded a 50% increase in experience and GP gain for ranking first. You have achieved first place in the game 5 times in a row. Experience and GP gain increased by 200%. Your level has increased by 2. You have acquired 3000 GP. The rewards were incredibly lavish. By receiving the first place reward for the 5th consecutive time, he leveled up from 13 to 15. However, Seong Ji-han was slightly disappointed. I didn't get any achievement points. Perhaps because he had already achieved the 10 kill achievement in the previous survival map, this game only had level ups and GP gains, but no achievement point gains. Still, Seong Ji-han decided not to be disappointed anymore. Things are different now. Reaching level 15 has unlocked the game map, Dungeon. Dungeon. Unlike survival and defense modes, which are available from the first login to Battle.net, the Dungeon was the third game map, unlocked at level 15. This is where the real team play starts. Dungeons weren't content you could clear just by being strong. With various traps, mazes, and puzzles, players needed party members who worked well together. Perhaps that's why there was another feature unlocked at level 15. Guild content has been unlocked. You can now engage in party play with guild members. From now on, he could form a team with guild members and play the game on any party play map. From now on, a guild is almost essential. Between a party formed by guild members and a public party mixed with regular players, it was easy to predict which would perform better. For instance, if a troll backed by the Sword King fan club, like last time, appeared, they might not even complete the mission. Even so, Seong Ji-han had no intention of joining a guild yet. I need to achieve the Guild Master achievement. Battle.net achievement points, which could be harvested in various ways outside the game. Up until now, he had acquired many from BattleTube, but after that, the place to get achievement points was related to guild achievements. But I have to reach silver rank to create a guild, so until then, I can't join any guild. Joining a guild would be beneficial now. Given Seong Ji-han's skills and potential, astronomical signing bonuses, salaries, and the best equipment would be provided. But those would come naturally once he possessed the capability. He had no intention of giving up the Guild Master achievement, aimed firmly at being number 1. Anyway, I need to go to the dungeon without a guild for now. Seong Ji-han searched for August's Bronze Dungeon. If August's Bronze Dungeon mainly had traps and mazes, he could simply overpower it. But if there were patterns requiring party cooperation, he needed a strategy. August's Bronze Dungeon, Conqueror's Mausoleum. Conqueror's Mausoleum? Sounds vaguely familiar. He couldn't remember this dungeon well. Being a world-class player, remembering a bronze dungeon from 10 years ago was unlikely. Seong Ji-han skimmed through the strategy guide with a wry smile. Conqueror's Mausoleum is a dungeon where powerful monsters appear, making it relatively difficult. The role of a warrior leading the front line is crucial. There are few traps and mazes, and hardly any puzzles, but all party members must be alive in front of the Conqueror's statue on the 7th basement floor. Seong Ji-han's expression stiffened. All 4 party members had to survive to clear the dungeon. With these conditions, if interference from the Sword King fan club continued like before, the issue wouldn't be about ranking first, but potentially failing the mission entirely. After pondering for a moment, Seong Ji-han soon broke into a faint smile. There's a way, but only I can do it. In the office of the Japanese Trade Corporation's Korean branch of the Neo Self-Defense Force, Takeda was on a long call with the higher-ups. Takeda, your request is impossible, but didn't you see the video I sent? The one where he defeated the flesh golem? Yes, regardless of the buff, that's not something possible at the bronze rank. We must make every effort to recruit him. I was surprised too, however, we can't use that method. The director's voice was firm. That method is our last resort. If you want me to accept your request, you need to provide solid evidence. By evidence, do you mean his status window? Yes, exactly. Stubborn old man. Takeda barely suppressed his urge to curse. Personally, I'm quite interested in this player, Seong Ji-han. You mean, I will personally fund you. Use that money to somehow find out about his status window. If you can get that information, depending on the situation, we can use the last resort. Takeda naturally bowed in gratitude. Such a wise director. There's a reason he's been in HR for so long. Understood. I will definitely find out his information. Alright, I believe you. Click. After carefully hanging up the phone, Takeda's eyes gleamed. I failed during the defense, but, in the dungeon map, I will make sure to bring you down, Mr. Seong. If he could just find out about the status window. And if they could then use the method referred to as the last resort. Japan would have both the present and the future in the form of the Sword King and Seong Jihan. Soon, Takeda smiled gleefully as if anticipating something. The next morning, this car really is comfortable, Yoon Seiya remarked as she buckled her seatbelt, smiling. Didn't you like the foreign car we rode yesterday? The car was fine, but Hisa kept worrying about me, saying, Seiya, what will you do now? That concern itself felt a bit awkward. I didn't really want to hear it. Seong Jihan seemed to understand what she meant. When people express concern, saying, what will you do, it doesn't always provide comfort. From the recipient's perspective, it can sometimes feel more like they're making fun of you. Let's just use this car from now on. Come on. There's no need to refuse when someone offers to give you a ride. It's fine, huh? While deep in conversation, Yoon Seiya's eyes widened a bit. At the parking spot number 17, where Seong Jihan had parked the day before, now stood a flashy sports car. And soon, the car door opened. You've arrived. A tall woman, dressed in a suit, came out. It was Lee Haeyeon's bodyguard, Lim Gaeong, who bowed her head towards Seong Jihan. Isn't she Lee Haeyeon's bodyguard? Seems so. Wait here, I'll go check. Me too, I want to go too. Seeing her sparkling eyes, it was evident she wasn't going to listen. Seong Jihan nodded slightly, parked the car in the adjacent spot, and stepped outside. Oh my. Mr. Seong Jihan. As the group including Seong Jihan came out, the passenger door of the sports car opened, revealing the radiant beauty, Lee Haeyeon. It's unexpected to see you here. Were you waiting for me? Oh no, it's just a coincidence. I'm an alumnus here, so I came to visit my old teacher. This early in the morning. It's customary to greet in the morning. Ho ho. Hello to you too, Miss Yoon Seiya. Hello, Miss Lee Haeyeon. The two exchanged pleasantries, seemingly in good spirits. Come to think of it, Miss Seiya, you were the student council president at the academy. We share a deep connection. How so? I was the academy's fourth student council president. Ah, I see. Perhaps Yoon Seiya's tone was a bit blatant, as she switched to a more formal manner of speaking. Meanwhile, Lee Haeyeon, who had turned her gaze back to Seong Jihan, brought up the main topic. How about a coffee, since we've met like this, with me? Yes. You mentioned meeting your teacher. Ah, I just realized they might be busy in the morning. There's also a nice cafe in the academy. Well, sure. Seong Jihan nodded his head amicably. The purpose was quite clear. Normally, I would have declined an invitation from any guild, but he saw the need to maintain a connection with Lee Haeyeon, who was a potential candidate for 0. Uncle, are you going to have coffee with Miss Lee Haeyeon? Yeah, that's the plan. Got it. Then let's go together. Seong Jihan nodded and boarded the elevator with Lee Haeyeon's group. BattleNet Academy's cafeteria. The place, usually deserted in the morning, was unusually full. Those dressed in neat suits were unmistakably working professionals. Oh, it's Seong Jihan. Isn't that Lee Haeyeon from Divergent Guild next to him? As Seong Jihan and Lee Haeyeon entered the cafeteria, murmurs began. Those who instantly recognized them were scouts dispatched from various guilds. They came up from the student parking lot. Did Lee Haeyeon also graduate from the academy? Divergent Guild contacted Seong Jihan first. Anticipating contact with Seong Jihan from the parking lot, the scouts from other guilds couldn't hide their disappointment. I hope the deal falls through. If it does, we'll contact him directly. Hoping that the conversation between the two wouldn't go smoothly, they sipped their coffee. Lee Haeyeon looked around at them and smirked. It seems many familiar faces are here in the academy's cafeteria. You mean those people? Yes, they're guild scouts. They must have come to see Mr. Seong Jihan. It was a good choice to wait in the parking lot. Lee Haeyeon thought highly of her own decision as she took a seat next to Seong Jihan. Jihan, I felt hurt, she said with a smirk as soon as she sat down. Notably, her manner of addressing Seong Jihan had become more informal, dropping the surname, Seong. I even gave you my business card, but you didn't contact me. I've been busy and forgot. I kept waiting for your call, and I couldn't sleep at night. Look, Can you see these dark circles under my eyes? She laughed heartily, pointing at her flawless face. Right now, she seemed as relentless as a predator in the recruitment industry. I'll be more considerate next time. Also, during the broadcast, you wanted to give your contact to the person who kicked the soccer ball, right? Do you remember now? Yes. I remembered after that incident. Then, share it with me too. She quickly scanned the surroundings, then brushed her hair back and leaned in, whispering towards Seong Ji-han's ear. There are too many people around. Just whisper it to me. A faint, pleasant fragrance wafted from her. Her side profile was so beautiful that the scouts watching from a distance were utterly mesmerized. She's really on a mission, Lee Hae-yeon. With a face like that, she could have been a celebrity. Why did she come to this industry? It's over, totally over. However, contrary to the scouts' thoughts, Seong Ji-han was reminiscing about the past. That's the same fragrance as Zero. He recalled the image of Zero, recklessly causing trouble while being heavily intoxicated. Seong Ji-han decided to take this opportunity to test the waters. Do you want my number? Yes. Then, satisfy my curiosity, and I'll share it. What are you curious about? Your gift, Lee Hae-yeon. Lee Hae-yeon's once radiant expression turned stern. She leaned back and waved her hand dismissively. I don't have a gift. If I had, I would have been a pro player. Is that so? Yes, I don't have one, seriously. You mentioned being the student council president here. Yes, despite serving the school as the student council president, they didn't bestow me with a gift. It's quite unfair, isn't it? I understand. I apologize. All right then, about your purpose for visiting today. I assume it's a recruitment proposal, Seong Ji-han commented. Upon hearing that, Lee Hae-yeon gestured to Lim Gaeong, who promptly handed over a piece of paper. Yes, we'd like to invite Mr. Ji-han to our Divergent Guild. For that reason, we've prepared a contract that is top-notch in the industry, she declared confidently. Seong Ji-han skimmed through the contract. The word, platinum rank, stood out prominently. They're offering platinum rank treatment, platinum rank. The platinum rank consisted of players who could potentially become national representatives depending on their positions. Players in this league were among the top in the pro scene. Well, what do you think? The conditions offered by the Lee Sung Guild were indeed staggering, just as Lee Ha-yeon had boasted. If he signed the contract with them, he would never have to worry about money again. Wow! Lim Gaeong, who had been sneaking glances, couldn't help but gasp. Isn't this too generous an offer for a bronze rank player? It's possible because she's from a chaebol family, she thought. Indeed, it was an offer only possible because Lee Hae-yeon was the golden parachute executive of the Lee Sung Group. P.R.N. Chaebol, in South Korea, a large family-owned business conglomerate. The other scouts, who had been keenly observing the conversation, shared the same astonishment. A platinum rank contract? Are they crazy? It was hard enough to get a gold rank contract. We're done for. The term, platinum, carried such immense significance. Mr. Ji-han, we firmly believe that we'll be great partners with you. Through this platinum rank contract, our commitment is unmistakably displayed, Lee Ha-yeon confidently stated. Seong Ji-han hummed in contemplation. Until now, Mr. Ji-han, you've never missed the top spot. But after reaching level 15, a guild becomes essential. To maintain your top rank, it's even more crucial. We promise to provide the utmost care to ensure you remain at the top. At this, Seong Ji-han grinned. Shall we make a bet? Excuse me? What kind of bet? I'll play a game without a guild right now. Tap, tap, he tapped the contract with his finger. Let's bet on whether I'll get top rank or not. If I can't get top rank, I'll accept this contract, however. If I get top rank, Seong Ji-han's smile grew wider. Ms. Hae-yeon, could you show me your status window? I already told you, I don't have a gift. Haha, I just want to see it. To definitively determine if she was Zero, Seong Ji-han proposed a bet Zero would love. You always rank first as easily as eating breakfast, the odds. No, it's different now. I've reached level 15. What? You're already level 15? Lee Hae-yeon stood up in shock. Such a growth rate was hard to believe. On the other hand, Seong Ji-han's looked calm. As you know, after reaching level 15, the next game is always a dungeon. However, she wasn't shocked for long. Remembering Seong Ji-han's achievements, Lee Hae-yeon thought, that's possible, and sat down again. Well, fine. I see no loss in this for me. Losing would only mean showing him her status window. There was no reason for her to refuse such a bet. Then we have a deal. Clank. Seong Ji-han clinked down his cup of iced Americano. I'll be back before the ice melts. Flash. With those words, Seong Ji-han's body transformed into light and disappeared. When they saw it happen, Lee Hae-yeon and the other scouts were unable to believe their eyes. What? Did he log in without a BattleNet connector? During the tutorial phase, playing without a BattleNet connector was considered suicidal. What kind of confidence is this? Even though there was no risk in losing the bet for Lee Hae-yeon, she unknowingly bit her nails. Oh, miss, you shouldn't do that. Seeing this, Lim Gaeong recalled Lee Ha-yeon's jinx and felt anxious. Soon, both of them, in fact, everyone in the cafe, started logging into BattleTube. Bronze League. Welcome to Gangnam area. This mission is a dungeon. I knew it. I've been assigned to a dungeon. The moment Seong Ji-han logged into the game, a message appeared notifying him of his dungeon mission. You have been summoned to the 8th passage of the Conqueror's Mausoleum. The Conqueror's Mausoleum had passages up to the 10th. While there were slight differences in the details of each passage, the overall difficulty of the dungeon was consistent, regardless of the passage number you were assigned to. Reach the lowest floor of the dungeon and secure the Conqueror's treasure. Up to 5 parties can enter the dungeon's lowest floor. As always, only the top 50% of players were recognized as having cleared the mission. You are not affiliated with any guild. Your dungeon party will be assigned randomly. Seong Ji-han, having been the first to be summoned to the 8th passage, waited for the rest of his party members. Meanwhile, viewers began to join Seong Ji-han's channel one by one. Starting your game this early? Seong Ji-han. Your viewer count might drop if you keep this up. Seriously, only the complete noobs are watching now. Even the pros are sleeping at this hour, right? Viewers, who initially grumbled about Seong Ji-han playing so early in the morning, were taken aback when they saw the map. What? It's a dungeon. He's already reached level 15. How many games did he play to get to level 15? Seriously impressive. If you get first place in 5 consecutive games, a level 2 becomes level 15? That's insane. BattleNet allows rapid progression up to level 10, but after that, leveling up becomes significantly slower. Especially since experience loss from defeats is substantial, players must rank in the top 50% to ensure growth. But this monstrous rookie, Seong Ji-han, reached level 15 in just 5 games. It was no wonder the viewers were flabbergasted. He still hasn't joined a guild? Does this mean it'll be a random party? Finally, his first place streak might break. Nah, you know how strong Seong Ji-han is. He's probably aiming for first place in the dungeon. In the dungeon mode, where teams must cooperate to overcome challenges, if Seong Ji-han were placed in a random team, would his streak of first place victories finally come to an end? The viewers, perhaps hoping to finally view his status window, eagerly waited for the players to be summoned. Then, suddenly, 3 players were summoned at once. Our team got split. We're doomed. All 3 of the summoned players had equipment with a black eagle emblem on it. Their attire alone made it evident they were from the same guild. The group, consisting of 2 men and 1 woman, exchanged glances and sighed heavily. How come it had to be the support that is missing? Looks like the support got stuck in a survival map meant for them. From level 15 onwards, the BattleNet matchmaking system prioritized guild members to allow for coordinated team play. However, exceptions always existed. In this case, one of the party members got stuck in a solo map, leading to a separation in the team. The players, members of one of the top guilds, the Black Eagle, wore gloomy expressions. This is terrible. I was just 1 level away from reaching level 25. Why now of all times? I wonder if we'll even make it to the top 5. But, wait, is that? The players, who were lamenting their fate, suddenly exclaimed. It's Seong Ji-han. Upon spotting Seong Ji-han, who was summoned as a supporter, their faces instantly lit up. We're saved. If we're in the same team as Seong Ji-han, we'll definitely be in the top 5. Just top 5? Aren't we going for first? Haha, Seong Ji-han's feats were well known to all users in the Bronze League. A monster dominating the league. Teaming up with him, not only would they be in the top 50%, but even first place seemed attainable. Sorry, but I'm kind of glad we're missing a supporter. Level 25. Level 25. While they were relieved and celebrating, there were also those who were rather disappointed. If it's the Black Eagle Guild, they won't be a troll like last time. Well, they're not top 10, but they're still a pretty high-ranking guild. Ah, another first place today. Damn, reaching 200k subscribers seems easier now. The majority of viewers, who had been hoping for him to slip from first place and show his status window, were understandably let down. Unlike the previous time, it seemed this team would genuinely put in an effort. Mr. Seong Jihan, you've been working hard since early this morning. Could you open your DMs? If you do so, Take Chan will send you a dazzling donation. He's always so eager, even in the morning. At least he has a job, right? We're watching this early, aren't we the weird ones? Shut up, dude. Hello, Mr. Seong Jihan. We're players from the Black Eagle Guild. We're looking forward to playing with you. Oh, and I've subscribed to your channel. The three summoned players extended their hands for a handshake with welcoming smiles. It's nice to meet you. I'm Seong Jihan. Seong Jihan greeted them warmly, returning their handshake. The game will begin soon. After a quick exchange of greetings, an alert rang out, prompting the group to start strategizing. Let's go with the usual formation. Our warrior in the front, the archer in the middle, and the mage, along with Mr. Seong Jihan, in the back. How does that sound? The Black Eagle Guild member proposed this basic four-person formation. It was a tried and tested method from countless dungeon runs. Moreover, with Seong Jihan, the wildcard, they would have robust support from the rear. However, thank you for considering me, but I think it's best if I take the front. Waving them off, Seong Jihan confidently strode to the forefront. Do you all want to come in first place? Of course. Then just follow my lead. The others were momentarily stunned by his audacity. But considering it was Seong Jihan saying it, it felt different. After all, he was the one who had defeated the flesh golem, an extraordinary being beyond measure. Shall we go? Yes? Yes. As Seong Jihan entered the dungeon, the remaining party members followed closely behind him. Asterisk, it's so comfortable. The Black Eagle Guild's warrior gazed at the back of Seong Jihan, who led the way. Up until now, he had always been at the forefront, tirelessly protecting his party members. Yet now, even in the potentially dangerous environment of the dungeon, he felt an unusual sense of ease. Is this what it feels like to be carried? Being carried was a slang term used in gaming when one player, thanks to their exceptional skills, made winning the game feel effortless. He never dreamed he'd experience this in BattleNet. Swoosh! Suddenly, from the ground in front of Seong Jihan, a mound of dirt rose, and humanoid clay soldiers emerged. Do not disturb his rest. The Emperor is eternal. These were the guardians, monsters that appear in the Conqueror's mausoleum. These guardians were considered a major factor in the increased difficulty of the August's Bronze dungeon. They were not only formidable individually, but when summoned in groups, their coordinated attacks were extremely threatening. However, go away. Bam, with a casual fist extended by Seong Jihan. The guardians shattered as if they were made of glass. Perhaps they lacked any defense. It wouldn't be unreasonable for the Black Eagle Guild members to think that way. But when the warrior, following behind Seong Jihan, struck the remains of a guardian with his sword, it sounded as if he was striking thick steel. They're so sturdy. Yes, it wasn't that the guardians were weak. Seong Jihan was just overwhelmingly strong. And just like that, each monster was obliterated with a single blow. Whoosh! 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 Traps within the dungeon were triggered, and arrows rained down towards Seong Jihan, who walked without caution. But with a swift motion of his hand, the barrage of arrows halted midair and then dropped to the ground, powerless. Thud! Thud! What's this? We're not even needed. The warrior glanced at the scoreboard. While other teams had only reached the second floor, or were still struggling on the first, they had already made it to the fourth. Crazy. Already on the fourth floor? This is going to end before my chicken gets delivered. Take it easy, will you? Look at the Black Eagle members, so clueless. Lol. Their compatibility is too good, isn't it? Indeed, the Conqueror's Mausoleum was the easiest dungeon for Seong Jihan to conquer. Even though powerful monsters and traps were abundant, there was hardly any need for teamwork or puzzle solving. All he had to do was overpower them. It seemed like the game would easily end with Seong Jihan's team in first place. That can't happen. Takeda, having recently woken up and still groggy, quickly gathered his wits. He transferred the funds he had received from the Neo Self-Defense Forces director to a sub-account and began his covert operations. It won't be as easy as last time with that mage. Compared to Kim Gyu-hyuk, who held a grudge against Seong Ji-han, the current party members were players who valued each game as they were on the brink of reaching level 25. Therefore, trying to manipulate them impulsively would likely fail. But they don't really need to come in first. Sure, first place would be great due to the bonus experience and GP. But wouldn't they still earn a significant amount of experience even if they came in second or third? Let's see. Takeda quickly pulled up multiple screens, logging into various accounts. Sword King 898. Sword King 168. Sword King 747. He then searched for the BattleTube accounts of the Black Eagle party members. Just as I thought, almost no viewers. Being bronze players, they naturally attracted less attention. Plus, it was early in the morning. There were very few viewers watching their gameplay. What viewer mission should I use to delay them? How much? Maybe 100,000 GP. In the Conqueror's Mausoleum, while they were breezing through the current levels, the 7th floor would require the entire party's cooperation to clear. So, if he could give a mission to these three to somehow delay them. As Takeda pondered the perfect mission, Seong Ji-han's channel showed that they were already preparing to advance to the 5th floor. Whoa! Already on the 5th floor? Seriously, a free clear pass. Why's my chicken taking so long? What? Already, the 5th floor? Mr. Seong, you're too strong. If this continues, even if Takeda tries to delay them, there's no guarantee he can stop Seong Ji-han from taking first place. Takeda became desperate. His initial plan to delay them was now unfeasible. It was time for a drastic measure. I'll take a gamble using the funds I got from the director. Yes. After all, it wasn't his money. He could spend it all, right? Still, as he thought this, his hands trembled uncontrollably as they typed. It's fine, right? Tap, tap, quickly, using the Sword King account, a viewer mission was created. Immediately commit in-game suicide to hinder Seong Ji-han from achieving first place. A ridiculous mission for players aiming for their promotional match to level 25. However, the reward listed below was even more absurd. Reward: 1 million GP, it was an amount equivalent to 10 billion won. Gasp, the eyes of the three party members widened in shock. Black Eagle Guild. While it didn't rank among the top 10 guilds, it was a renowned guild that sat comfortably among the high ranks. The Black Eagle Guild members, who had entered the Gangnam First Division, were the rising stars, aiming to potentially become professionals in the future. However, even for them, a million GP, 10 billion? 10 billion was an astronomical sum. You can't play around with viewer missions. If you don't have money, you can't set such stakes. 10 billion, is it for real? Gulp. The warrior involuntarily swallowed 10 billion. Even if he was considered a promising talent within the guild, for someone under a bronze contract like him, this was an unimaginable amount. Perhaps, if he climbed up to the Gold League, that amount might feel attainable. But, getting to gold isn't easy, the warrior thought. Having spent several months in the Gangnam area, he realized the pro barrier was not easily surmountable. If he had a top-rank gift, he would have joined a top 10 guild, not the slightly inferior Black Eagle Guild. He considered himself talented but an average amongst the elites. Could he, having possibly passed the silver promotion match, overcome the barrier to gold? Never. If I commit suicide now, my reputation might take a hit, but 10 billion was an enticing figure. For all I know, the hit to my reputation might not be as bad as I think. Having watched Seong Ji-han's channel a few times, the warrior was familiar with the channel's dynamics. There were probably quite a few people hoping that Seong Ji-han wouldn't secure the top spot so they could see his status window. The more spectacularly Seong Ji-han displayed his powers, the more viewers grew curious about his abilities. So, even if he commits suicide here, he might just get some flack, and it would die down. Yeah, let's do it. The warrior looked around. He noticed his fellow guild members acting suspiciously. The archer took out an arrow and discreetly moved it toward his own throat. The mage, despite no monsters being around, seemed to be preparing a spell. The warrior felt a rush of urgency. Did those fools also get missions from the Sword King? Those crazy bastards. Did all three of them really get a 10 billion GP mission? Then, if they all die, who gets the money? I don't know how it will turn out, but I need to die first. He was determined, and turned the tip of his sword towards his own throat. He had never imagined he would consider suicide in BattleNet, but he needed to quickly clear the mission. Swish. Just as the sword was about to pierce his throat, it suddenly halted. Why, can't I move? Only a slight push was needed to end it, but his entire body felt restrained by an unknown force. And then, as expected, Seong Ji-han, who was walking ahead, had turned around, a cold smile playing on his lips. Thud. Thud. The sound of footsteps thundered in his ears like a storm. The warrior's eyes darted around. Not just him, all the guild members seemed paralyzed, unable to move. Telekinesis, did he anticipate something like this? Thinking back, something had been bothering him. Given Seong Ji-han's power, he could have simply progressed through the game alone, clearing the path ahead. Yet, he had always ensured he didn't stray too far from the party members. Even when confronting enemies, he always maintained a certain distance. At that time, they had assumed he was doing so to protect them. He was monitoring us. This realization sent shivers down his spine. If you were going to do it, you should have done it earlier. Tap. 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 Seong Ji-han's fingers lightly tapped various points on the warrior's body. His sturdy armor felt like it was being pierced with ease. Wah! Suddenly, the warrior lost control of his body. No, to be precise, he could only move his face and neck. My arms and legs, it was a completely different sensation from earlier. Before, he had felt forcefully restrained by a powerful external force, but now his body simply wouldn't obey him. This is... The warrior suddenly recalled the martial arts techniques used by the higher job class martial artist for warriors. Could it be acupoint sealing? Clang. His sword and shield dropped uselessly as the warrior collapsed, drained of strength. It wasn't just the warrior. Why are you doing this? Turning his neck with great effort to look behind, he saw the other two guild members collapsed, limp as if their strings had been cut. Seong Ji-han, looking down at them with an icy gaze, coldly remarked, "Was 10 billion that desirable to you?" How did you know about it? The warrior asked, surprised. Even if he had anticipated it, how could he specify the exact amount? I had someone inform me. Seong Ji-han's gaze turned to the void. Specifically, streamer Golden Light has donated 10,000 GP. Be careful, Seong Ji-han. Those guild members want to commit suicide for 10 billion. He looked at the donation message that had popped up in his view. Just moments ago. I want to be your editor, Ji-han, please let me. No thanks. After being rejected so quickly by Seong Ji-han. Sigh, streamer Golden Light was feeling downcast after skipping his streams for 2 days. If I had collaborated with Ji-han, we could have become legends on BattleTube, to let such an opportunity slip away. He had a dream. To be the very best on BattleTube. Though he was currently trolling and doing deep-sea exploration content, one day, he vowed to be the top broadcaster. That was streamer Golden Light's grand ambition, but it's too much for me alone. Streamer Golden Light was well aware of his own limitations. Though he had good looks and an A-grade gift, it wasn't enough to be the best on BattleTube. Only top-tier players like Sword King could reign supreme on BattleTube. I saw that potential in Seong Ji-han, to let it slip away like this. It was depressing. So depressed, just as streamer Golden Light was wallowing in his self-pity. Ding! Seong Ji-han has started streaming. His phone buzzed with a notification. At this hour? Streamer Golden Light looked at the clock in surprise. Early morning. It was the time when viewership was at its lowest as everyone would be heading to work or school. Who streams at such a crappy time? This is why I need to be there to advise him. With a sigh of lament, streamer Golden Light accessed Seong Ji-han's channel. Seong Ji-han, now at level 15 and navigating the dungeon map, was clearing the dungeon with his usual overwhelming power. The game was progressing smoothly. With this pace, he'll definitely rank first, if only there aren't any issues. Streamer Golden Light suddenly remembered the trolling incident with Kim Gyu-hyuk from before. Back then, there was the influence of the Sword King. Maybe I should check their channel once. Streamer Golden Light's expression became more solemn. While watching Seong Ji-han's channel on his phone, he connected to other channels on his computer. Suddenly, the Sword King users invaded the Black Eagle Guild members' channel. Immediately commit in-game suicide to hinder Seong Ji-han from achieving first place. Reward: 1 million GP. The reward was astonishing. A million GP? This is unbelievable. Streamer Golden Light's face turned stern. The amount was too excessive to be just a grudge donation from the Sword King fan club. Furthermore, the simultaneous entries into the party members' channels were suspicious. I need to take a screenshot, Streamer Golden Light thought quickly. He had to inform Seong Ji-han about this as soon as possible. To do that, he had to send a donation message. The minimum donation amount set by Seong Ji-han was 10,000 GP, which required a hefty 10 million won. But that was okay. Streamer Golden Light was a former Gold League player. To him, earning Seong Ji-han's trust was more valuable than 10 million won. He quickly typed the message. Be careful, Seong Ji-han. Those guild members are trying to commit suicide for 10 billion. This was the third donation message on Seong Ji-han's channel. Seong Ji-han remembered the time during the defense game when he felt slightly uneasy after hearing the entire story from Kim Gyu-hyuk, who had betrayed him. 50 million won to destroy the crystal? 50 million won? It was a lot of money, and it was not collected by the Sword King fan club. It was a single donation from a big spender with the ID Sword King 898. Even if his loyalty toward the Sword King was exceptional, it wasn't something easily understandable. Actually, the person who made me curse at Sword King seemed more like a fan. However, a single case was not enough to draw conclusions. But the 10 billion figure, informed by Streamer Golden Light, crossed the line. Doesn't it seem strange to all of you? Even though he had disabled in-game chat, Seong Ji-han could still communicate with his viewers. I thought 50 million won was plausible. After all, considering it's that Sword King. Someone could have been generous enough to donate that much. Yeah, 50 million is possible. When Streamer Golden Light received the mission to kill Seong Ji-han, they must have gathered several thousands, right? But that time, it was because the Sword King fan club flocked together. Isn't it different from a single person donating? I agree, 10 billion, on the other hand, is a different story. Specifically, Seong Ji-han pointed to each player. It's 30 billion. The chat exploded. 30 billion is over the line. Spend 30 billion just to troll Seong Ji-han? Even it's a Sword King's fan, isn't that crazy? Maybe a second-generation Chable? Nah, all the Chables have cut ties with the Sword King. Previously, many Chables claimed to be fans of Sword King. However, after he moved to Japan, they all deleted their posts showing their association with him and withdrew their s. They decided to distance themselves before getting caught in any controversies. So, who could it be? It's not Sword King, is it? It wasn't collected by a group, it was a single donation. Not 50 million won, but 30 billion. No matter how wealthy the Sword King's fan was, this amount was unfathomable. We can't simply see this as the act of the Sword King fan club. Rather, a much larger power is at play. A group with enough financial strength to invest 30 billion won for such a cause and a burning desire to view my status window. Seong Ji-han pondered, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. I wonder who it could be. A contender fitting the criteria Seong Ji-han listed. Both Seong Ji-han and the viewers seemed to have one individual in mind. Could it be? Take Chan? The Neo Self-Defense Force has a ton of money? Exactly. They're always asking him to open his DM and reveal his status window. It's suspicious. No, it could be China. China? No way. The chat was ablaze with debates. Seong Ji-han paused for a moment before making a declaration. I will change the condition I proposed. Condition? Is he talking about the status window revealing conditions? He's going to cancel the first place promise. Just reveal it, he's making a big deal out of it. He's not making a big deal, he's genuinely expensive, referring to his worth. When the viewers were busy making their speculation that he would cancel his promise to maintain the first place for this opportunity. For the subscribers count, contrary to their predictions, Seong Ji-han stated. I'll change it to 1 million instead of 200,000. He raised the number of subscribers he aimed for. The subscriber count, not the first place condition? Condition of being the top remain unchanged. Someone who was betting 30 billion just to see his status window. Although the Neo Self-Defense Force seems the most likely suspect, there's no conclusive evidence. Moreover, retaliating directly against an anonymous opponent is difficult. Increasing the conditions to show my status window to an absurd level is perhaps the best revenge I can do. Of course, the best way would be to cancel the promise to reveal the status window altogether. But doing so would drastically reduce interest in my broadcast. Despite being a Bronze League channel, Seong Ji-han's channel was rapidly gaining popularity day by day. Several factors contributed to this rapid growth, but the biggest of them all was the curiosity about Seong Ji-han's status window and the anticipation of when it would be revealed. If he were to cancel the promise now, he would lose most of the viewers. The Neo Self-Defense Force should serve as the spark for my broadcast. Though it's not yet confirmed if the Neo Self-Defense Force is behind the 30 billion mission to see his status window, he had to subtly suggest that they might be involved during the broadcast. This will help me gain more attention. After the Sword King moved to Japan, the current anti-Japanese sentiment, the strongest in the 21st century, just hinting that the Neo Self-Defense Force is after him would garner significant attention. Given the current rate of subscribers, reaching 200,000 will be quick. I needed an excuse to make a change. This worked out well. Ji-han, using Takeda's scheme to his advantage, smirked. If you want to see my status window that badly, either stop me from getting the first rank or gather 1 million subscribers. Swish. With a wave of his hand, the 3 Black Eagle Guild members floated up. Inventory. While keeping them in the air, he opened his inventory and took out an item. It was a long rope, an F-grade item called the binding rope. The binding rope shot out from Ji-han's hand like a snake, binding the 3 in an instant. Why does he even have a rope? Lol, was he prepared for this? He throws it like an artist. Was he a cowboy in his past life? In an instant, the 3 players were tightly bound without even a chance to resist. After confirming that their bodies were completely restrained, Seong Ji-han released force. Let's go. Squelch. He began dragging the 3 bound party members. Look at them being humiliated. Lol, did they just become a joke? Lol, pathetic. Black Eagle Guild? More like Black Joke Guild. Lol. The warrior gritted his teeth in humiliation. Being a part of the Gangnam First Division, he was once treated as a promising individual wherever he went. But now, he was being paraded in front of everyone in the most humiliating manner. Say Seong Ji-han, how dare you, treating us like this? Are you looking down on the Black Eagle Guild? He tried to threaten Ji-han by mentioning his guild, but, chuckle, he was met with not only Ji-han's laugh but also a bronze rank player threatening with a guild? You can tell he's a third-rate villain. Lol. Villain? More like a joke. Lol lol lol. The scorn from the viewers. You, as Seong Ji-han continued to drag them with a mocking smile, the warrior desperately thought. Last time, the mage who badmouthed his niece ended up dead. The mage, Kim Gyu-hyuk, who was brutally beaten by Ji-han after badmouthing his nephew. When he had watched it, he had thought what a trashy person the mage was. But now I have to die, even if it means being trash. Bound all over and with only his mouth free. Now, with his entire body bound and only his mouth free, he wanted to provoke Ji-han into killing him. Your knee, mmmph, but as soon as he tried to say, niece, the warrior's mouth was forcibly shut. His words were blocked by the force. Stay quiet. Seong Ji-han, using acupoint sealing, shut the warrior's mouth. Now I can pick up the pace. Seong Ji-han, who shut all 3 of them using the acupoint sealing, took the warrior's weapon and began moving forward in earnest. Swoosh. Do not disturb his. Bang. Before the sentence could be finished, a shield flew like a gust of wind, smashing into the head of a guard. It was the warrior's shield, now in Ji-han's hands, serving as an impressive offensive weapon rather than a defensive one. Swish. As Ji-han marched relentlessly, traps sprung from all sides and arrows flew towards him. Clang. Clang. Ji-han deflected the incoming arrows with the shield. I need to be careful. He kindly halted the arrows heading towards his party members using force. Heal. He even provided healing services for his party members who got hurt while being dragged. Ji-han was the epitome of a perfect support. Look at him taking care of his party members. I thought the mage would die soon, but I don't think that's happening anymore. If they die, they get 10 billion, what a pity. Lol. Moving faster than when he teamed up with the party, Ji-han soon arrived at the last room of the dungeon's 6th floor. Swoosh. Surround the intruder. Do not let a single one live. As soon as Jihan entered the last room of the dungeon, the guards of the mausoleum were summoned from all sides. Unlike before, where they only appeared in front, now they were coming from all directions, forming a tight encirclement. This encirclement was the biggest challenge in conquering the dungeon. Breaking through the encirclement of the guards without losing a single member was the actual final mission of the dungeon, Conqueror's Mausoleum. Can Jihan protect his party members in this room? There are over 100 guards. Carrying them around like that, someone might get hit. This is the biggest challenge. My chicken has arrived. Even the viewers, familiar with Jihan's abilities, were uncertain. Because with over 100 powerful guards shooting arrows from all sides, one unlucky arrow could kill a party member. Typical strategy guides recommended staying closely packed and pushing through to the passage leading to the 7th floor. Of course, Jihan had no such intentions. Limited quest. Annihilate the guards. Reward, 1000 achievement points. This limited quest only appeared once Jihan reached the 6th floor. A smile formed on Jihan's lips. It's about time. I haven't received a big quest in a while. After a long absence of achievement quests, getting 1000 achievement points was a welcome reward. Shield. Jihan dragged his party members to the center and cast the basic support magic, Shield. The viewers were in awe as a massive protective barrier formed. It was an unusually thick shield for a basic spell. Why is that shield so thick? So this is Jihan's shield. Is there anything he can't do? Thanks to force, the combined power of mana and divine power, the shield was fortified. Still, it's a basic spell, it won't hold for long. No matter how fortified the shield was with force, it would eventually break under the concentrated attack of the guards. With the short time he had bought, he had to suppress the enemies. Whoosh! Jihan's figure vanished in an instant, rushing to where the guards were gathered. Death to those who disturb his rest. To block Jihan, the frontline guards swiftly raised their shields, but... Move aside. Boom! With a simple gesture from Seong Jihan, the hands of the guards simultaneously exploded, rendering them powerless in an instant. With his force reaching level 20, his absolute domain had expanded. Within this domain, the possibilities of what Jihan could do were limitless. Bang! He exploded the hands holding the weapons and evaded the slowed attacks within his domain, easily cutting down his enemies. Death, slash. The guards, speaking so slowly, couldn't even finish their sentences before they were sent sprawling on the ground. The potential of force is endless. To think Baron used such a remarkable ability as just a more powerful magic power. Jihan, amidst the guards moving as if in slow motion, effortlessly cut them down, dismantling their encirclement. In no time at all, kill, intruder, the last guard exploded. You have cleared the limited quest. You have gained 1000 achievement points as a reward. Shall we continue? After completing the quest and deactivating his shield, Jihan began to drag his party members along again. His nonchalant tone made it sound as if he was simply taking a stroll with a puppy. The guards exploded like they were made of glass. Weren't they supposed to be tough? Nothing works against him. Seriously, what kind of insane ability does he have? Not just the scouts, but regular viewers were also curious about Jihan's stats. Isn't the subscriber requirement too high all of a sudden? Thanks to Takeda trolling, the reveal is now delayed. 1 million, lol, 200,000 seemed achievable soon, but a million? Lol. With 30 billion, why not just hire fake subscribers? Why flip the table? It's difficult given the BattleNet system, isn't it? BattleNet, created using advanced extraterrestrial technology, made it nearly impossible to manipulate figures. Although one could create multiple accounts, the system was stringent when it came to GP, game points, transactions. Manipulating subscribers or views was virtually impossible in this foolproof system. But surely, before reaching 1 million, he'll lose the first rank, right? Seriously, 1 million is over the line. How many BattleTubers in our country even have 1 million subscribers? Only Diamond Leaguer players, maybe. Just like when he initially said 200,000 subscribers as the condition, everyone unanimously believed that revealing the stats due to a failure in securing the first rank would happen before reaching 1 million subscribers. Because 1 million was such an unimaginable number. Nonsense. There's no way Mr. Seong Jihan's first rank record will break. He'll reach 1 million subscribers first. It's Streamer Golden Light, a black sheep worth 10 million. Only Streamer Golden Light, who revealed the existence of the 10 billion won mission to Jihan, confidently chatted that reaching 1 million subscribers would come before any failure in maintaining the first rank. But, the Conqueror's statue won't be easy, right? Yeah, it requires cooperation with party members. After being dragged around like dogs, if he lets them go, they might just kill themselves out of shame. Others subtly hoped that Jihan might slip from his first rank, all eyes now on the final mission of the 7th floor. The 7th floor of the Conqueror's mausoleum. The place was a vast chamber, its floor and walls adorned with gold. We're finally here. Squelch. Heal. After Seong Jihan gave another healing to the party members who were being dragged, he looked up at the giant golden statue on the wall of the chamber. It was a statue of a middle-aged man with a serene expression, proudly holding an ornate bow, mounted on a majestic horse. Even though it was just a statue, an overpowering charisma emanated from it. Before long, a majestic voice echoed throughout the chamber from the golden statue's mouth. Whoosh. Welcome, intruders. The voice, surprisingly welcoming to the intruders who had penetrated the deepest part of the Conqueror's mausoleum, continued. The essence of gold is to be stolen, whether you steal it or have it stolen from you. The statue raised the hand holding the bow. Rumble. A door behind the statue opened, revealing a mountain of gold. If you show respect to me, I shall willingly give you what you desire. As soon as the golden statue finished speaking, silver light began to rise from the golden floor of the chamber. Shortly after, the gold around the statue receded, revealing 4 small silver platforms just big enough for one person to stand on. So, this is why we needed exactly 4 people. The mission of the 7th floor was simple, barring the condition that all party members had to survive. Each party member had to stand on one of the silver platforms, and every time the golden statue aimed its arrow at them, they had to bow. It was as simple as that, a mere bonus mission if everyone was alive. Swoosh. Seong Jihan released the rope. The 3 party members, previously bound, now clumsily fell to the ground. How will he make them bow? They seem to be in pain, lol. Is he going to use telekinesis? Isn't the distance too far for that? Even though the viewers knew about Seong Jihan's unique ability to use force as telekinesis, they wondered how he'd overcome this challenge. However, to Seong Jihan, this dungeon was already as good as cleared. This distance is within reach of my force. While making the bound party members bow would be a complex task, controlling them with force should enable the desired movement. Step by step, the freed party members began to move like marionettes under Seong Jihan's control. It seems to be working. What can't he do? Lol. I'm really curious about his status window. What kind of ability is this? As Seong Jihan and the party members stood on the silver platforms, the Conqueror's statue began to move. Begin. Swoosh. The statue turned to the far left party member and aimed its arrow at him. Thud. The Black Eagle Guild's warrior knelt down awkwardly, yet Seong Jihan's force managed to make the movement resemble a bow. Good. The statue approved. Lol. Yay, first place again. Nothing happened at all. Next. This time, the statue aimed its arrow at the far right mage. Thud. The mage's bow seemed more natural than the warrior's. Next. On the 3rd turn, the archer next to Seong Jihan made a bowing motion so perfect that it was almost indistinguishable from a natural gesture. Is it my imagination or is his control getting better? When the warrior did it, it seemed like a log was bowing. Nope, not your imagination. It's just that his telekinesis got better. Finally, it was Seong Jihan's turn. Next. I've reached the end, Seong Jihan thought, bowing in anticipation of completing the dungeon. The statue of the Conqueror smiled with satisfaction. Well done. Enter, and just like that, the final mission of the 7th floor was effortlessly cleared. Even if all 3 teammates betrayed him, it wouldn't make a difference. So, they're leveling up for free. Lucky them, lol. But why isn't he finishing it? Just a few steps away was the end of the dungeon. However, Seong Jihan hesitated, standing still. What's he doing? At this rate, he might lose first place. Nope, the second placer just entered the 4th floor. His pace is insane. He could even take a nap. As the viewers expressed their confusion, Seong Jihan let out a sigh of exasperation. He was looking at a quest window in front of him. Hidden quest. Show true respect to the statue of the Conqueror. Reward. 5,000 achievement points, the Conqueror's arrow. True respect? Hadn't he shown that by bowing earlier? Seong Jihan pondered the words the statue had spoken earlier. The essence of gold is to be stolen, whether you steal it or have it stolen from you. The conqueror, the ultimate raider. What would true respect mean to such a being? His eyes drifted to the gleaming arrow the statue held. It stood out even amidst the golden horse and the mountain of gold coins. It was a massive arrow, more like a spear by human standards. If the reward for the achievement quest is that arrow, how could he obtain the arrow? The answer was clear. Make the statue shoot the arrow. This quest might not be easy, judging by the hefty 5,000 achievement points attached to it, but it didn't matter. Seong Jihan was determined to complete this quest and get that unparalleled arrow. So, with a smirk, Seong Jihan used force to pull the mage towards him. The mage, who had been hopeful about leveling up thanks to Seong Jihan's probable first-place finish, was now filled with a foreboding sense of dread. King of Raiders, Seong Jihan addressed the statue. You refer to me as the King of Raiders? The statue responded. Yes, let me show you true respect. With a swift motion, Seong Jihan threw the mage towards the statue of the conqueror. Wah, ah. Just as the mage was about to crash into the golden horse, the statue's mouth opened wide and swallowed him whole. What just happened? Why did he do that after coming so far? Has he lost his mind? The viewers, who thought the game was over and were about to leave, were now filled with bewilderment and shock at the unexpected turn of events. How dare you? The statue of the conqueror seemed taken aback. Yet, with a serene expression, Seong Jihan pointed at the arrow. The most valuable thing here isn't the gold behind that door. It's your arrow. Oh, and? With a glint in his eye, Seong Jihan stated, I'm going to take it. Drawing the sword he had taken from the warrior, he continued, taking the most precious thing by force. That is the respect I show to the King of Raiders. Ha 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 ha. That is the way of King of Raiders. The entire chamber echoed with laughter. Mountains of gold that had been neatly piled behind the statue scattered recklessly. But no one in the room cared about the gold now. To think I thought of you as a mere grave robber when you bowed earlier. The statue aimed its bow at Seong Jihan, and its demeanor entirely changed, emitting an overpowering aura. A discerning eye for value and the ambition to seize it with force. Admirable. The arrow tip emitted a fierce energy, the flames engulfing it so hot that the gold coins at the statue's feet melted. As you say, that is my way. You made me remember the old days. Yes, you have shown me the utmost respect. The bowstring was pulled taut. Thus, I bestow upon you, Phoenix's arrow. True to its grand name, the intense heat from the arrow filled the entire chamber. The statue's intent was clear. If you can catch it, you can keep it. Flames erupted on the bodies of the warrior and archer, burning them fiercely. Even if they die, it's of no concern to me, Seong Jihan thought. The problem was that the sword he was holding belonged to the warrior. If the warrior died, the sword would be recalled to his inventory. The intensity of the phoenix arrow was overwhelming. To intercept it directly was nearly impossible. As this mission even meant to be completed, Seong Jihan mused. He remembered the surprise he felt during the defense map when the flesh golem appeared. But this situation was far more dire. Even if he had reached the Gold League as a warrior, that arrow was unstoppable. If that arrow leaves the bowstring, even I might not be able to block it, Seong Jihan realized. And time was running out as the chamber transformed into an inferno. Seong Jihan's sharp gaze focused on the bowstring. I'll strike first. He poured all his energy into the sword. A combination of divine power and mana, force and even his ki. The energy from the unification of the three dantians was so immense that the sword seemed about to explode. With determination, Seong Jihan unleashed a powerful technique. Nameless divine arts, triad of martial mastery, way of immortals. The technique symbolized the immortals guiding the path. It was the essence of the third element of the triad, heaven, earth, and man. Right now, speed is of the essence, Seong Jihan thought. Thus, choosing the way of immortals was apt for the current situation. Even though the phoenix's arrow hadn't left the bow, the golden horse was already engulfed in flames. The sheer power of the heat was immeasurable. The bow, which Seong Jihan aimed to target, was obscured by a curtain of flames. A half-hearted approach won't penetrate this barrier, he realized. Unlike when he defeated the flesh golem, this situation required more precision and speed. To achieve this, he opened his upper stance, drawing the trajectory of the sword. The straight line pointed directly at the bowstring. Opening his middle stance, he cleared a path. A small gap appeared amidst the flames, allowing for the trajectory of the sword. Finally, in his lower stance, he executed the move. The Way of Immortals technique, which is the essence of the man of the triad, was not an extravagant move. To an outsider, it would appear as a mere flicker of the sword. However, the energy emanating from that flicker was beyond what most could imagine. In an instant, a blade of energy from Seong Jihan's sword pierced through the core of the flames and split the bowstring in two, rendering the phoenix's arrow useless. A surprised exclamation escaped the conqueror's statue. Seong Jihan's precise strike was the optimal counter to the arrow. Without a bow, an arrow cannot be fired. The overwhelming heat from the phoenix's arrow quickly subsided, and the conqueror's statue gazed at Seong Jihan with admiration. "What is your name, Raider?" "Seong Jihan." "Seong Jihan, splendid. You're a commendable swordsman." The conqueror's arrow landed at Seong Jihan's feet. "Having shown me the utmost respect, the phoenix's arrow is now yours. You have received the recognition of the conqueror. You are exempted from the 7th floor's trial." Seong Jihan's eyes narrowed as he checked the message. "Exempt? You've already shown me true respect. Do not display the manners of a raider in the future." With that, the conqueror's image slowly dispersed. "Hopefully, we will meet on a battlefield next time, not somewhere like this." "All right. There are numerous battlefields in BattleNet, and if they are fated, they might meet again." Seong Jihan thought so as he watched the disappearing conqueror's statue. What did he do? I can't tell, even after watching. Aren't fast movements automatically applied with slow motion? His momentum was incredible, but it was too fast. Viewers were perplexed, unable to grasp what had just transpired. This was understandable since the Way of Immortals technique, while swift, is also a very discreet martial art. Regardless of the courtesy provided by BattleNet, it was almost impossible for the average person to grasp what had transpired. Meanwhile, Seong Jihan, who had bid farewell to the conqueror's statue, wore a satisfied smile. "My control over the martial arts techniques has become more fluid," he thought. Compared to the past, he had made significant progress. Initially, when he used martial arts techniques, he couldn't control the energy properly, leaving residual currents in the ground and even splitting the earth. But now, with the Way of Immortals technique, he displayed much refined skills. "If I can master basic techniques like this, then I can surely use more advanced ones." As he pondered over his martial arts, chat messages began flooding in on his screen. "Wow, if you clear a dungeon map like that, it wouldn't have mattered even if those guys did commit suicide. What can you do now, Take-chan? Guys, Take-chan didn't do this. How could a regular salaryman like me have so much money?" He was silent, but now he's finally speaking up. "You're already exposed. If I had this kind of money, why would I be working? Why suffer like this? Please believe me." The chats were mostly frivolous, but Takeda was vehemently denying any involvement in the suicide request allegations. There was suspicion, but concrete evidence was lacking. "There's no need to distance myself from Takeda right now," Seong Jihan thought. He needed Takeda for the growth of the channel, however, it would be wise to gather solid evidence for future reference. "Let's do this," he mused and pulled out the phoenix's arrow, swinging it to test its weight and balance. "It's a bit heavy," he noted, but other than that, it was a perfect spear. With some time and adaptation, he wouldn't need to worry about a primary weapon for a while. "Let's test this out." He glanced around. Unlike Archer, who had succumbed to the phoenix's arrow's flames, Warrior was still alive, probably due to his professional resilience. As Seong Jihan aimed his spear at the warrior, a look of despair filled Warrior's eyes. No, please no. He might have missed out on the 10 billion reward, but he thought he could get away scot-free. But Seong Jihan was not one to let anyone take advantage of him. "Join your friend," Seong Jihan whispered, and with a swift movement, the phoenix's arrow pierced through the warrior. At the BattleNet Academy's cafeteria, Seong Jihan reappeared, holding the massive phoenix's arrow in his right hand. The scouts present were wide-eyed. "Whoa, is that?" It was an equipment? In BattleNet's 4 game modes, dungeons allowed players to acquire everything from useful auxiliary items to various equipment items. While it wasn't unusual for Seong Jihan to appear with an item, the scouts were amazed for a different reason. Equipment from a bronze dungeon? I've never heard of that. Wasn't the Conqueror's Mausoleum supposed to give at most 1 or 2 gold bars convertible to GP? The dungeon, often referred to as the loser's tomb, hardly provided any valuable loot. But now, the Phoenix's arrow Seong Jihan held was a game-changer. It's at least a rank, one scout whispered, referring to the gleaming golden and silver tip of the spear. The aura it radiated sent chills down the spines of the watching scouts. Inventory, Seong Jihan murmured, placing the Phoenix's arrow inside his virtual storage and sitting back down. He playfully shook the ice in his plastic cup, which was half melted but still intact, in front of Lee Haeyeon, signaling that not much time had passed in the real world. Lee Haeyeon gazed at him with a forlorn expression. You really made it back before the ice melted, Lee Haeyeon remarked, a hint of disbelief in her voice. Yes, I always keep my promises, Seong Jihan replied, sipping his coffee and grinning at her. But I wonder about you, Director Lee Haeyeon. Do you keep yours? Or do you say one thing and mean another? Until now, Lee Haeyeon had always greeted Seong Jihan with a radiant smile. But this time, her smile seemed forced. Oh, what a coincidence. I'm also the type to, strictly, keep promises. Status window. She summoned her status window, looking at it for a brief moment before pressing the public button. Go ahead. Look, she said, showing off her respectable average stats of 9.5. Just so you don't misunderstand, I haven't lied. Having a supporting gift is almost like not having one. The gift displayed read. Gift, nurturing, rank A. A supporting gift. Helps other players grow quickly. Seong Jihan's gaze deepened. Now he was sure. Lee Haeyeon, you're really Zero. Zero, known for her brilliant talents, ruled as the deputy guild leader of the American First Guild, despite being an immigrant. Now, Seong Jihan had visual confirmation. A smirk spread across his face. How mean, laughing right in front of me. No, I'm smiling 'cause I'm impressed, he replied, extending his phone. May I have your number, Ms. Lee Haeyeon? She stared at his phone, taken aback. She had been hit on countless times in her life, but she had never encountered a man who asked so boldly. Isn't it written on the business card I gave you last time? His answer was shocking. Ah, I lost it. She was taken aback, struggling to comprehend. You lost my card as if it wasn't worth anything, yet you suddenly ask for my number? His attitude had changed completely after seeing her gift. Did this seemingly useless gift intrigue Seong Jihan? Regardless, she took his phone, entered her number, and even saved her contact with a name that could be misunderstood by others. Director Lee Haeyeon Hart. She then made sure to call her own phone to confirm Seong Jihan's number. When opportunity knocks, you have to seize it, she thought. Seong Jihan had proven that he wasn't just a promising player, but a definite ace. With the situation as it was, she had to secure her position, whether it was a genuine courtship or something else. But, are you really not going to make a contract with Twin Star? As promised, I'll do it if I lose first rank, he replied, standing up. Well, I'll be in touch. You should visit your teacher as well. Yes, it's already that time, please take care. As Seong Jihan exited the cafeteria, he promptly changed her saved name from Director Lee Haeyeon Hart to Lee Haeyeon equals O. Meanwhile, as Seong Jihan stepped out of the cafeteria, a chorus of voices called out to him. Mr. Seong Jihan. Do you have a moment? Just a second, we'd like to speak with you. But the scouts, who had been waiting for him, were too late. I guess that's it for today. Seong Jihan stomped the ground and, as if he was never there to begin with, vanished entirely. The scouts were left in a state of panic. Watching their flustered state, Lee Haeyeon sighed in relief. Thank God I secured his number, she thought, glad she wasn't left chasing after him like a desperate hen after a worm. Should I be the one to reach out first? Is this what it feels like to be on the receiving end? How did I end up in this situation? She smiled bitterly and then spoke to Lim Gaeong. Gaeong, let's head home. But, your teacher, shouldn't we greet him? Do you think he'll be receptive? In the parking lot, a tired Lee Haeyeon felt her phone vibrate. She quickly pulled it out, and her eyes widened in surprise. The messenger's ID read, Seong Jihan. The message contents were also shocking. You said you've been my subscriber for a while, right? I'll give you a match prediction after a long time. 8.15 Korea-Japan match results. First match. Korea wins, MVP Lee Jinwook. Second, third, fourth matches. Japan wins, MVP Ito Ryuhei. Enjoy. What is this? Lee Haeyeon whispered to herself. Seong Ji-han's first text to her was a prediction for the Korea-Japan match that was scheduled a week later. August 15th. In Korea, it is celebrated as Independence Day, marking the country's liberation from Japanese colonial rule. In Japan, it's a day they prefer not to dwell on too much, the day they commemorate the end of the war. And the Independence Day of 2020 held an even more special meaning for the two historically entwined nations. That's because there was a scheduled match between the two countries in the BattleNet Northeast Asia League. The Korea-Japan match on Independence Day. When Sword King was still in Korea, the Korean people eagerly anticipated this day. From 2019 to early 2020, Korea's national team was in top form, especially against Japan, where they had a significant advantage. Hence, most people never doubted that they would witness the Japanese team's crushing defeat on this historic day. Well, the situation has changed now. Sitting at her desk, Lee Haeyeon stared intently at the text Seong Ji-han had sent. 8.15 Korea-Japan match results. First match. Korea wins, MVP Lee Jinwook. Second, third, fourth matches. Japan wins, MVP Ito Ryuhei. Predicting Japan's win is obvious. From a purely objective standpoint, without letting national pride cloud judgment, Japan's victory was expected. After all, Korea's core power, Sword King, had transferred to another team. The online sentiment was the same. If one had to bet all their wealth, Japan was the overwhelming choice, highlighting the vast difference in team strength. But a 1-3 score and even predicting the MVP, this doesn't make sense. The lineup for the 8-15 national team match had already been announced. Sword King was set to participate in all matches, from the 1st to the 5th. Yet, they're saying Korea will win the first match against a team with Sword King? Impossible. Before the lineup was revealed, maybe. But now, with Sword King's participation in all the matches, the majority predicted a 3-0 victory for Japan. And the first match MVP is Lee Jinwook. Lee Jinwook. He was a player Lee Haeyeon was quite familiar with, being a Diamond League player that the Twin Star Guild boasted about and a national team member. However, Lee Jinwook's position was a supporter, a position that rarely wins MVP. Especially in a match as unfavorable as this one, it's even harder for a supporter to become MVP. I don't want to waste money on such an obvious match. Looking discontentedly at Seong Ji-han's text, Lee Haeyeon decided, let's just waste 5 million won. She decided to just think of it as an investment in Seong Ji-han and bet as he had predicted. The odds are only in double digits. Given the 1-3 score and even specifying the MVP, she expected higher odds. Lee Haeyeon briefly tilted her head but then showed an indifferent expression. It doesn't matter, it's not like I'm going to win anyway. It was money she'd already written off. No, it was a rational purchase to increase her connection with Seong Ji-han. Now that's settled, after making her bet based on Seong Ji-han's prediction, Lee Haeyeon, staring at her smartphone, thought. Now for my real bet. She quickly lit up and poured a large amount of money on the universally expected 3-0 victory for Japan. She was certain that Seong Ji-han's prediction was nonsense. Inside Kim Hee-soo's car. Wow, Seiya, your uncle is really amazing. Returning home after finishing student council work, Kim Hee-soo exclaimed as she watched the broadcast with Yoon Seiya. He could clear the Conqueror's mausoleum like that. I know, right? It's so fascinating. It's hard to believe he's just bronze rank. Kim Hee-soo looked at Seong Ji-han on the screen with amazement. Your uncle seems completely different from when I saw him at your house. He's become really cool, hasn't he? Really? Yeah. Back then, he reeked of alcohol and had messy hair. It might have been after he won or lost a bet on BattleNet. What's the difference? If he won, he drank out of excitement. If he lost, he drank out of frustration. Anyway, the conclusion was about alcohol. Kim Hee-soo chuckled as she looked at her phone. Among all the promising talents I've seen, he seems the most outstanding. Seong Ji-han, the younger brother of the priestess Seong Jia. She thought he lacked any special abilities, but who would have thought he had this talent hidden? With that level of skill, he has every potential to become a star player. Kim Hee-soo's eyes sparkled as she looked at Seong Ji-han. And her interest grew even more when, wow, uncle, what's that? As Seong Ji-han, who was dragging his party members around, faced off against the Conqueror's statue, he was growing stronger. And at the end of the video, seeing Seong Ji-han's sword break the Conqueror's bow, Kim Hee-soo couldn't help but be astonished. Is that even possible? Well, I knew my uncle was strong, but to that extent. As the video ended with Seong Ji-han acquiring the Phoenix's arrow, Kim Hee-soo looked at Yoon Se with envy. You're so lucky, Se. Why? Your whole family has received high-grade gifts. I bet you'll get one too, right? Yoon Se's father had an SSS grade gift, her mother, Priestess, had an sulfur monosulfide grade, and considering the incredible strength displayed by Seong Ji-han on screen, he undoubtedly had a high-grade gift too. That's why Yoon Se was considered the crown jewel in the BattleNet industry. Gifts and genetics aren't related. Come on. Still, 3 people in your family turned out great, right? Hee. I guess so. Even if she tried not to expect much, given her family's history, she couldn't help but have high hopes for her gift. Speaking of which, your birthday is on the 22nd, right? It's not far off now. Yeah. I wonder what gift I'll receive, I'm a bit nervous. Hee. What do you have to worry about? Great, I'll get you a grand birthday gift. Come on, what gift? Yoon Se waved her hands dismissively, saying it was fine. No, you must accept it. Kim Hee-soo said so with a meaningful smile. You've achieved first rank in the dungeon game. For achieving first place, your experience and GP acquisition rate increased by 50%. Your level has increased by 1. You've acquired 5,000 GP. You've acquired 1,000 achievement points as a reward. Seong Ji-han began to meticulously go over the rewards he had postponed. Given it was my first time clearing dungeon mode, I even got additional achievement points. As the sole first place, you've acquired all the gold bars stored in the Conqueror's Mausoleum. You've acquired 40,000 GP. You've cleared the hidden achievement, Solo Dungeon Clear. You've acquired 3,000 achievement points as a reward. The Conqueror's Mausoleum, infamous for its stingy rewards, gave out a significant amount of GP when he claimed all the gold bars, typically split between 4 players, all for himself. Additionally, clearing the hidden achievement boosted his achievement points significantly. You've cleared the hidden quest. Show true respect to the Conqueror's statue. You've acquired 5,000 achievement points as a reward. You've acquired the Conqueror's arrow, Phoenix's arrow, as a reward. From the Conqueror's Mausoleum alone, he was able to harvest 10,000 achievement points. The rewards from yesterday's survival game don't even compare. A satisfied smile naturally formed on his face. Even though he only leveled up once, with 45,000 GP, 10,000 achievement points, and the Phoenix's arrow, the rewards he received for a single game were incredibly substantial. Should I check out the description of the Phoenix's arrow? Phoenix's arrow. Grade A. An arrow made from the feather of the phoenix and belongs to the Conqueror. When shot, it exudes immense power and returns to the owner's hand. The Phoenix's flames are sealed within, and the arrow disappears after being shot 5 times. I thought it would be grade S. Compared to the power the Conqueror's statue showed, its grade was only A. Perhaps it's because the arrow disappears after being shot 5 times. Yet, considering it came from a bronze-level dungeon, it was an item that could be described as overpowered. I'll need to use it as a spear for a while. As long as it's not thrown, it can be continually used as a weapon. And for the GP, let's bet it all on the Korea-Japan game. Seong Ji-han recalled the message he sent to Lee Hae-yeon. The prediction of 1 win, 3 losses, and the MVP. It was information he was certain of from his past memories. It was also the first game where Yoon Se participated as a member of the Japanese team and led Korea into a downfall. The flow of the game was also markedly different from the general predictions at that time. Korea winning the first game was against everyone's expectations. Seong Ji-han logged into BattleNet on his smartphone and placed the same bet as Lee Hae-yeon. The difference between him and her was, while she only bet 5 million won. Seong Ji-han poured in all his assets, 137, Even after correctly predicting the game's outcome and the MVP, the odds were lower than expected. However, looking at this, Seong Ji-han was sure. Yoon Se, you also bet like this, didn't you? There's always a reason for low odds. Either many people placed bets. Or, like Seong Jihan's bet, a large sum was poured in. The source of that money was probably Yoon Sejin. Seong Jihan recalled the game from his past life. During the first Korea-Japan game, Yoon Sejin deliberately died at the hands of the supporter, Lee Jinwook. He took off all his armor and inflicted self-harm. He only allowed Lee Jinwook to deliver the finishing blow. That's why Lee Jinwook was able to become the MVP. In his later interviews, he said he did it deliberately due to conflicts with the Japanese team. But Seong Jihan suspected match fixing, and seeing the lower than expected odds now, that suspicion gradually turned into conviction. Still, just in case, I shouldn't use Sea's share. The 50 billion won Yoon Se received was the niece's assets that he must absolutely protect. There was no need to mobilize that money. Instead, I should bet all of mine or whatever I earn on this. And so, a week passed. The day of the final showdown. The 15th of August, Independence Day, dawned, in a barbecue restaurant in Gangnam. In a private room of the restaurant, Seong Jihan shook hands with a man. Nice to meet you again, Seong Jihan. It was Diego Masid, whom he had befriended in the defense game. Seong Jihan had long wanted to meet Diego, who possessed an SSS grade gift, but due to his busy schedule, they could only meet today, which was a public holiday. I originally planned to watch a Korea-Japan match with Seiya. The meeting was only possible because Yoon Seiya was attending an academy due to her gift. Sorry I'm late today. Living expenses in Korea are high, and my soccer classes aren't enough to cover them, so I had to take on a part-time job. You were running soccer classes? Yes. It's a place run by my sponsor, Mr. Cha. It used to have many students, but soccer's popularity has declined, so there aren't many students now. Seong Jihan felt a pang of empathy. Diego Masid, once on the path to becoming a soccer legend, now teaches soccer in Korea. After BattleNet caused professional sports to disappear, Diego Masid was one of the most affected individuals. He was on his way to becoming a legend in soccer, which was the world's most popular sport, being from one of the top clubs. But now, he had fallen to a point where he had to worry about daily living. I can't even remember the last time I had beef. Tish. As soon as the ordered meat arrived, Masid immediately placed it on the grill. He sneakily glanced at Seong Jihan. Can we drink alcohol? Of course. Oh, as soon as he got permission, Masid shouted loudly. Ma'am. Soju and beer, please. Whirl, thud, glug glug. With experienced hands, Diego Masid mixed soju and beer with a 1-to-2 ratio. It was a mix preferred by genuine alcohol enthusiasts. After preparing the drink with care, he offered it to Seong Jihan. Cheers. Cheers. Clink. The only time Masid seemed truly happy was when drinking this mix. He nostalgically looked at the empty glass, then started pouring again. Let's have another round. Sure. Speak comfortably. I find casual speech easier to understand than formal. Okay. Cheers. 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 The two men drank straight shots without speaking. With a slightly flushed face, Masid stared at the empty beer glass. So, how much do you know about me? I know you were once considered a living legend. Legend, huh? Feels like a long time ago. With a distant look, Masid poured more alcohol. Gulp. Gulp. Ma'am, 2 bottles of soju and 4 beers, please. After that, Masid went silent. Seong Jihan recalled the information he had researched before meeting him. Diego Masid, rising as a living legend from a prestigious club in Spain. The sudden appearance of BattleNet crushed him. FIFA disbanded in 2013. The International Soccer Association, FIFA. Even that massive organization disbanded in less than 3 years after BattleNet arrived. And it was one of the last professional sports organizations to do so. With the dissolution of FIFA, professional sports worldwide ceased to exist, with only BattleNet remaining. Diego Masid had already finished a bottle of soju and 2 bottles of beer from the additional order. With a flushed face, he looked at Seong Jihan and said, All right, Seong Jihan. Let's get to the ball game. What ball game? Slow down with the drinking. Main topic. Korean is hard. Also, you're supposed to drink when alcohol is served. Stuttering, Masid asked Seong Jihan, Tell me, why does my gift match with a mage? With that, Masid started juggling a soccer ball with his feet. Even while sitting in a drinking place, His skills with the ball were impeccable, as if the ball was an extension of his body. Masid even entered the restaurant without letting the ball leave his feet. Asterisk. What's with him? Is he crazy? Why bring a soccer ball here? Despite the glares from the people around, Masid never let the ball leave his feet. Even if he was a legendary figure in soccer and missed his past glories, this obsessive behavior seemed excessive. But there was a reason for it. It's because of his gift. The gift named God of Soccer that Masid publicly revealed for sponsorship had the following abilities. Gift. God of Soccer, rank SSS, while keeping a soccer ball at your feet, all abilities significantly increase. Soccer ball-shaped equipment's effect increases by 300%. The longer you handle the soccer ball-shaped equipment, the greater the increase in abilities. A gift inseparable from a soccer ball. Especially due to the last condition, Masid always had to live with a soccer ball. Be it in the game or reality. To continue benefiting from the increase in abilities from his gift, he had to always have the soccer ball with him. My abilities don't match with a mage. Are you referring to your initial stats? Yes. My strength, agility, and stamina were 10, but my magical power was only 5. In BattleNet, initial stats indicated the suitable profession for the player. Considering Masid's superior physical abilities contrasted with his low magic stat, it was credible when he said he wasn't suited to be a mage. Hence, Masid had only considered adapting to the warrior or archer classes and hadn't even thought about choosing the mage class with his low magic power. I lived as a warrior for 3 years. I reached the silver rank but found it too inconvenient to fight while keeping the soccer ball with me, so I gave up on that class. Masid filled his glass again, looking somber. To give up, I downgraded to level 2. I kept dying, finishing last, and continued to fall. Then I changed my class to archer. But that too was tough. No matter how much my abilities improved, I couldn't break through the enemies with a soccer ball. Right. A ball is just a ball, not suitable as a weapon. I even tried shooting arrows with the ball attached to my feet. It wasn't effective. I tried various methods. In the process, I got scammed multiple times. My wealth gradually disappeared. I slowly descended into misery. Masid, seemingly lost in his thoughts, drank heavily without even touching the meat. My wife couldn't take it anymore and left me. She took our son and returned to Argentina. I gave most of my remaining wealth to her, promising to return successfully. I vowed to utilize my SSS grade gift properly. It's been 5 years since I made that promise. With drooping eyes and slurred speech, Masid's voice was filled with defeat. Seong Jihan nodded slightly, empathizing with the depth of his sorrow. But I know very well how brilliantly he will change in the future. Masid eventually finds his way. He becomes a hero in Argentina and the best mage. And since it's going to happen anyway, Seong Jihan felt the urge to help him escape from his pit of despair even a day sooner. To make the outstanding mage, Diego Masid, do his part sooner. For the sake of Earth, and for himself as well, Masid. Look at this. Seong Jihan held up his smartphone. I hope this provides a clearer understanding of the story. Let me know if you need further assistance. The battle market page was displayed on the screen. What is this? This is the page after searching for orbs. Orbs. These are accessories resembling beads that are typically used by magicians. They are usually inserted into an extra slot in a magician's wand to enhance their magical power. You're suggesting using this like a soccer ball? Diego Masid, with his eyes glazed over from drinking, focused on the smartphone screen and let out a weak laugh. The soccer ball shape that my gift recognizes must be precisely the size of a soccer ball. Orbs are too small. I can't use them. Yes, the orbs available on Earth would be that size. Then why are you showing this to me? But what if we look at this? Seong Jihan changed the search term to otherworldly relic orbs. Different orbs, each of various sizes, appeared, unlike the ones previously seen on the battle market. What's this? Otherworldly relics appear in the search results only when you specifically check for them. Seong Jihan, who had utilized the otherworldly relics extensively, knew that these objects, true to their extraterrestrial origin, came in a variety of sizes. Some were as small as a fingernail, while others were unimaginably large. I didn't know such things existed. But the soccer ball shape condition isn't just about the size. Yes. The material also has to be similar, and it should be suitable for use with feet. How did you know all this? Now isn't the time to drink. Hold on, wait. Slap. Diego Masid quickly put his glass down and slapped himself in an attempt to sober up. All right, continue. Now ready to listen. Masid watched as Seong Jihan added another search term to the battle market. How about adding arachne to the search for otherworldly relics? Arachne. This term refers to an extraterrestrial race resembling giant spiders. With this term added, orbs used by the arachne appeared on the battle market. This is the arachne race, spider-like in nature. Their orbs are wrapped in spider silk, resembling a soccer ball. Masid couldn't remove his gaze from the smartphone screen. The arachne orb, with white threads forming its outer layer and a red glow in its center, looked very similar to a soccer ball in shape and size. Moreover, the arachne, being spider-like, naturally use these orbs with their feet. How did you find this? How could Seong Jihan possibly have discovered such an item? It was a natural question for Masid to ask. However, Seong Jihan already had an answer prepared. I came across it while I was searching for relics. Now that you mention it, you have always used peculiar weapons. Remembering, Seong Jihan had indeed used a variety of unique weapons, from regular knives and clubs to even those typically used by orcs. Masid then checked the price of the arachne orbs. Only 3 were available, starting from grade B, with the lowest price being 500,000 GP. 500,000 GP, Masid gulped. 500,000 GP, equivalent to 500 million Korean won. If he had discovered this 10 years ago, the price might not have seemed so daunting. But now, living as a foreign worker, it was an unimaginable amount. Even if otherworldly relics are said to be cheap, given its B grade, the price is quite steep. Masid, let's get to the point. Tap, tap. Right in front of Masid, Seong Jihan added the arachne orb worth 500 million won to the cart. I'll buy this for you. You will, just like that, offering to buy something worth 500 million won. Gulp. Masid swallowed hard again. What do you want in return? 1 year. Seong Jihan held up his index finger. Sign a contract with me for just 1 year. What kind of contract? When I reach Silver League, I plan to create a guild. You just need to be a guild member there for a year. You're creating a guild? Masid's eyes widened. While it's possible to establish a guild once you've achieved the qualifications of Silver League, very few in Silver League actually established guilds. Battle.net has been established for 10 years already. Who would create a guild in Silver League these days? If it weren't for Seong Jihan saying it, he would have thought it was some kind of scam. But he must have a reason. Considering the remarkable capabilities Seong Jihan has demonstrated so far, he must have a grand plan. That was Masid's speculation. He never thought Seong Jihan would establish a guild just for achievement points. So, just 1 year will do. Yes. I'll even pay a monthly salary. Of course, if you want to stay longer, you're welcome to. This was an incredibly generous offer. Given Masid's current situation, even if a 5 or 10 year indentured contract was proposed, he would have no choice but to accept. Yet, Seong Jihan only asked for a year. Why are you being so kind to me? When Masid asked with a trembling voice, Seong Jihan confidently replied. Because I know you'll become the best mage. I won't tie down the best player with a multi-year contract. From the start, the guild establishment was just to receive the guild master achievement. Seong Jihan never seriously considered continuing to run it. And it's better to have Masid owe me one. Having the world's best mage owe him one was ultimately what Seong Jihan wanted. I can't understand. How do you see that I'll become the best mage with this useless gift? Masid, can you gather 500 million? No, right? Just use me then. There's no way you'll lose out, right? Well, you probably don't have money either. I heard you're commuting using an old car. Seong Jihan laughed bitterly. The power of the media. It hadn't been long since he commuted to the academy using that car, but even the busy Masid knew about it. Money isn't a problem. Swish, Seong Jihan switched the screen on his smartphone. From the Battle.net market to a betting site. Do you know there's a Korea-Japan match today? I do. I even bet my salary on it. You too? Yes. Sorry to Korea, but I bet on a 3-0 win for Japan. I have to earn at least 10%. The odds for a 3-0 win for Japan were 1.1. PRN. The odds being 1.1 means you'll get 110% of the money you bet. This is why Masid says he'll earn 10%. It was evident that many people were confident in Japan's victory. No need to apologize. But, sorry to say, the world is often unreasonable. Seong Ji-han grinned and showed his betting record. Masid was shocked. Are you crazy? Making such a wild bet? Haha. Does it seem crazy? Beep. Seong Ji-han turned on the TV in the private room. On the screen, BattleNet players preparing for a match were captured by the camera. From now on, I'll show you the sight of money being multiplied. The odds for a 3-0 win for Japan were 1.1. The public's judgment was entirely reasonable. The key player of the Korean national team, Sword King, had moved to Japan. Not just a halving of the team's strength, but it had been added to the enemy. The power dynamic shifted from 1-1 to 0.5, 1.5. As long as Sword King played in every match, a crushing defeat was expected. However, that's impossible. Sometimes, the world was unreasonable. During the Korea-Japan match first game as the vanguard for the Japanese national team, the Sword King, Ito Ryuhei got into a verbal altercation with his Japanese teammates, who he suddenly found himself paired with. If you won't listen to me, I won't play. Then suddenly, he began to strip off his armor and started cutting himself with his twin swords. In no time, his shirt was torn to shreds, revealing bloody cuts on his muscular upper body. Why is he doing that? I wonder. Ito. What are you doing? While Japanese players were trying to stop the Sword King in shock. You're in my way. The Sword King, speaking fluent Japanese, pushed away his Japanese teammates and charged alone towards the Korean national team. Block him. Not sure why, but this is our chance. The Korean national team, surprised by the Sword King's sudden madness, focused their fire on him. However, even though the Sword King had taken off his armor, he still held twin swords in his hands. Too weak. His twin swords, gleaming blue, moved fluidly. HMPH, he easily neutralized the attacks from the Korean national team's dealers. With the SSS rank gift of twin sword mastery, his sword movements alone overwhelmed the Korean national team. With or without armor, he was the world's best warrior, after all. He's indeed strong. National team members are essentially superhumans who have reached at least the Diamond League. Their match footage, accessible to the general public, is shown in slow motion. While mages and supports, who aren't as physically adept, move slowly on camera. Only the Sword King moved at a breakneck pace. With that speed, even with my martial arts, it won't be easy. In Seong Ji-han's previous life, he had never faced the Sword King. Sword King, Ito Ryuhei, the best warrior who reigned the starting era of BattleNet. He had disappeared suddenly when half of the world's countries vanished in the later era of BattleNet. Thus, Seong Ji-han, referred to as the strongest warrior in the later era, had never crossed swords with the Sword King. However, Seong Ji-han showed no sign of concern. I'm completely different now. While acknowledging the Sword King's strength, Seong Ji-han never thought he would lose to him. Sword flight technique. A blue sword landed at the Sword King's feet. Serving as a stand, it sped through the sky. The technique to fly by manipulating a sword. The pinnacle of sword techniques, once displayed by an ally, was now showcased by an enemy. It's a sword flight technique, cast protective magic. Sword King's strength was well known to the Korean team. Sword flight was not just about flying, it was the epitome of breaking through enemy defenses. In a flurry, the team attempted to cast protective spells. However, still too slow. The Sword King had become a massive meteor, plummeting down. The speed difference was stark. Boom! The protective barrier conjured by the Korean supports was torn apart. Inside, the Sword King landed. Right in front of the most vital players, the supports. Step. Step. The Sword King walked slowly. Block him. Form a scrum. Warriors formed a line to protect the supports. Whoosh. Arg. With one swing of his twin swords, they were all blown away. The difference in strength was evident. Sword King was unstoppable. Throughout his advance to the core of the Korean team, he didn't have a single injury except for the self-inflicted ones. At this rate, they would be defeated overwhelmingly. The Korea-Japan match on August 15th, it would be cruelly trampled upon by someone who was once Korean. Crazy. What's with this Sword King guy? Why has he become stronger? This isn't even a game anymore. Loud exclamations echoed even inside the soundproofed private room from the restaurant's patrons. Everyone expected a loss, but not a humiliating game like this. Despair descended upon South Korea. The national team players must fight. Even if the Sword King is in front of them, the supports cannot be left to die in vain. But we can't stop him. He has become stronger. If we're completely defeated in the first game, we'll be caught off guard in the next game. If we're dominated by one person like this, we won't stand a chance in not just the invade map, but any other map. The commentators on TV shouted in frustration, but before long, the Sword King had approached where the supports were. The game was essentially over by then, and the first target of the Sword King, support Lee Jin-wook, desperately struggled like a bug being crushed. Divine punishment. A hammer of light formed in the air and dropped towards the Sword King. The support's attack spell, Divine Punishment. It was a powerful skill for a support, but to someone like the Sword King, it merely tickled. People resigned themselves. Obviously, that attack would be blocked, and he would be killed instantly. However, the outcome was completely unexpected. The Sword King allowed the attack? Commentators voiced their surprise. The reason was that the hammer of light had struck the Sword King's head. Bang! A loud noise resonated from the unarmed head of the Sword King, and from there, a trickle of blood flowed. In this game, it was the first significant damage the Korean national team inflicted on the Sword King. And the Sword King wiped the blood trickling down his forehead with his hand. Then, he smiled. Well done. Thud. The Sword King drew his twin swords and stabbed himself in the chest. What on earth is happening? What's happening? Why is he suddenly committing suicide? The murmurs were loud, and not just from the commentators, but also from the people in the restaurant. However, amidst the chaos, Mashid seemed deaf to those noises. No way. How? His gaze shifted from the TV screen to Seong Ji-han's smartphone. Specifically, at the bet Seong Ji-han had placed on Korea winning the first game and Lee Jin-wook being the MVP. Although the Sword King committed suicide, the kill would be credited to Lee Jin-wook. Since the only damage dealt to the Sword King from the Korean team was the support's feeble attack. Thus, it was obvious even without watching the entire game that the system would credit Lee Jin-wook for defeating Japan's strongest warrior, making him the MVP. How did you know about the MVP? To the obvious question, Seong Ji-han nonchalantly replied. I saw it in a dream. That's impossible. My dreams are special. It sounded absurd. Betting such a large amount on such an improbable outcome just because he saw it in a dream? Does he have some special gift? Seong Ji-han, who had yet to reveal his status, made him wonder if he possessed a special ability. Given that he spoke of a dream, what could be done? There was no other way to find out, and in that special dream, you appear too. I appear in it? Yes, as the world's best mage. Mashid's eyes trembled. Seong Ji-han, who accurately predicted the seemingly impossible situation, was now confidently stating that Mashid would become the world's best mage. Even if you hadn't made a contract with me, you would have eventually found a way to become a mage. But if you make a contract with me, you can walk that path much faster, can't you? Yes, you're right. Mashid nodded his head. Once he found the way forward, he would have gathered money by any means and bought the Arachne orb. However, it would have taken an incredibly long time. But if he gets help from Seong Ji-han, he could skip a tremendous amount of that hellish time. And then, adding Seong Ji-han's astonishing predictive ability on top of that? Mashid could firmly make up his mind. Seong Ji-han, I will make a contract with you. An excellent choice. Diego Mashid, who had the potential to become the world's greatest mage, now had the opportunity to awaken his abilities faster by joining hands with Seong Ji-han. The best outcome. Seong Ji-han wore a satisfied smile. 1 hour later, the Korea-Japan match ended as Seong Ji-han had predicted. 1-3 the MVPs for the second, third, and fourth matches were all won by Sword King. The GP settlement was promptly completed in true BattleNet fashion. Seong Ji-han, who had hit the jackpot at 37 times the bet, flashed a grin and showed his mobile phone. See? The money has been multiplied nicely, right? My blood, sweat, and tears. Mashid, who had bet on Japan's 3-0 win and lost his salary, looked as if he was on the verge of tears. Think of it as buying the orb with that. Seong Ji-han opened the BattleNet market, brought the Arachne's orb he had previously added to his cart, and just like that, 500,000 GP vanished, and the Arachne's orb appeared in his inventory. Here. Seong Ji-han took out the 500 million worth of relic and tossed it to Masid. What? Masid, catching the orb, looked at it in disbelief. He then placed it carefully as if it was a precious relic. It was the Arachne's orb. To Masid, the item, similar in size and feel to a soccer ball, was recognized by his SSS grade gift, God of Soccer, as a soccer ball. It recognizes it as a soccer ball. My gift, accept it. That's good. Did you really think this would work? Is it really okay for me to have this? We made a deal, didn't we? Right. Wouldn't it be better to use it after you've lowered your level and changed your class? Yeah, that makes sense. Masid, who was about to try it immediately, nodded and carefully stored the orb in his inventory. I never thought it would really work. Tears filled Masid's eyes. Though he had hoped, he never truly believed it would become a reality. While others with the same SSS grade gift showcased their skills in national matches, he was stuck in bronze, simply kicking a soccer ball around. But now, it's different. Like in 2010, when he reigned as the legend of the soccer world, this time he would be the best in BattleNet. The will of a man who once stood at the pinnacle reignited with determination. Thank you, truly. It's nothing much, nothing much. Masid had seen the amount of GP Seong Ji-han had received from the bet. Seong Ji-han earned 4 million GP from this bet. Considering the orb cost 500,000 GP, Seong Ji-han had given away 1/8 of his winnings for someone he had barely met twice. And not just that, he had treated Masid with respect, believing he could be the best. To Masid, who had lost his self-esteem, this meant a lot. Ji-han, I will repay this kindness 100, no, 1,000 times over. On that day, the gratitude Masid felt went far beyond Seong Ji-han's expectations. After all, he had brought an end to a decade of wandering and hardships. I will live up to your expectations and repay you in kind. It was a moment when Seong Ji-han's goal of winning over the heart, rather than just binding through a contract, perfectly aligned. At the main entrance of Sword Palace, as Seong Ji-han was about to part ways with Masid and enter, he narrowed his eyes. There were reporters stationed outside. Just then, flashlights went off all around as reporters swarmed a foreign car pulling up to the entrance. Ms. Yoon Seo, can you comment on today's match? Did you happen to see Sword King's interview? Sword King said, he doesn't have a daughter. What do you think about this statement? What? Seong Ji-han quickly rushed to where the reporters were gathered. These people, this is not a place for these kinds of questions. The stern-looking chauffeur tried to fend off the reporters, but... Step aside, sir. Ms. Yoon Seo, just a quick statement. Ms. Yoon Seo, it's a universal truth. There's no resisting a horde. The reporters quickly overpowered the chauffeur's defenses, and the cameramen swiftly focused on the backseat. Seong Ji-han hadn't caught Sword King's interview since he turned off the TV after seeing the match results. But seeing the reporters' uproar, it was evident that Sword King had said something provocative. These guys, Seong Ji-han swiftly held the reporters back. Even in the real world, where his power was limited, his force had grown enough to control dozens of people. Wah, what? I can't move. That's Seong Ji-han. The reporters, who were previously aggressive, went silent. Compared to Yoon Seo, who isn't a player, Seong Ji-han was a more formidable entity. Mr. Seong Ji-han, did you see Sword King's interview today? We'd like your comment on the interview. The reporters started their barrage of questions. Even if their bodies couldn't move, their mouths certainly could. Seong Ji-han chose to stay silent amidst the reporters' onslaught. Let's go, Seo. Okay, uncle. Seong Ji-han, after bringing out Yoon Seo from the backseat, nodded to Kim Hee-seo. Thank you, Ms. Hee-seo, for bringing Seo. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. No, it's fine. Yoon Seo also looked apologetic. I'm sorry, Hee-seo. And I apologize to the driver too for asking for a ride today. Don't worry. These reporters are too much. I'll talk to the ones from our side later. Kim Hee-seo, coming from a media family, had the authority to reprimand the reporters. Thank you. As Yoon Seo waved to Kim Hee-seo, her expression quickly turned cold when she faced the reporters. I'm sorry, but I have nothing to say in response to your questions. Ms. Yoon Seo. Ms. Yoon Seo. Sword King clearly mentioned in the interview that, The reporters, ignoring Yoon Sea's words, continued to ask questions but were shut down by Seong Ji-han. Enough. Seong Ji-han's force made sure they couldn't utter another word. Seeing that, Kim Hee-soo's driver unknowingly shrank. He had also experienced this terrible experience once. It was as if your whole body had given up on you and wouldn't listen to any of your commands. We won't be giving an interview today. The paralysis will be released once we enter the building, so wait patiently. Reporters, with their mouths shut, could only nod in response. Let's go. Okay, uncle. Leaving the reporters in a state of paralysis, Seong Ji-han and Yoon Se entered the Sword Palace together. Kim Hee-soo, who had watched Sword King's interview on her smartphone, murmured. Sword King gave such an interview. She glanced at Yoon Se's retreating figure. He really abandoned his daughter. It's truly over for Seiya, isn't it? One corner of Kim Hee-soo's mouth curled up in a faint smile. Uncle, did you hear what my father, no, what Sword King said? Was she trying to completely come to terms with the situation? Yoon Se referred to Ito Ryuhei as Sword King. Honestly, I'm not sure. Seong Ji-han pretended not to know and entered the penthouse of the Sword Palace. He thought everything had gone smoothly after obtaining the GP and signing the contract with Moseed. He wondered why the reporters made such a fuss about Sword King's interview. We can watch it on TV, right? Uncle, let's watch it together. Do we really need to watch that interview? Maybe it will be better if we watch it together? Yoon Se gripped Seong Ji-han's clothes tighter. She had always been resilient, dealing bravely with her father's decision to become a Japanese citizen. But today, she seemed a bit vulnerable. All right, let's watch it. Seong Ji-han walked into the living room and sat on the sofa. Behind the sofa, there was a display of Sword King's shattered face. He turned on the TV and flipped through the channels. As expected, many channels were highlighting Sword King's recent interview. He settled on a channel showing the interview from the beginning. Reporter. Why did you behave that way during the first match? Referring to the first match where Sword King committed suicide, Sword King Ito Ryuhei responded fluently in Japanese. It was my first time coordinating with the Japanese national team, and there were many awkward moments. In order to align properly with them, I had to face numerous trials and errors. Hence, I took a drastic measure. Reporter. So you committed suicide, Sword King. It was more of a tactical showmanship than suicide. Now that I have joined the Japanese national team, we have become a prominent force in Northeast Asia. But the tactics were still old. It was time to break the defensive and passive tactics, so I had to resort to this strategy. Seong Ji-han chuckled. Sword King tried to justify his suicide as a tactical move. The interview continued to review the subsequent matches, all of which Sword King dominated. He was seen beaming throughout. Sword King. As expected, Korea was weak. Reporter. Really? Sword King. Yes. Now that we have completely united in the Japanese spirit, the Korean national team was no match for us. Korea seemed to be the weakest in the Northeast Asia League. Reporter. So, you're saying Korea will end up at the bottom of the league? Sword King. Absolutely. Sword King, Yoon Sejin, who was once the hope of Korea, now went by the name Ito Ryuhei and was declaring his former homeland would end up last in the league. Finally, the interviewer touched on the personal topic. Reporter. There have been several issues regarding the daughter you left behind in Korea. What are your thoughts on this? To this, Sword King Ito Ryuhei clearly answered. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Reporter. What? Sword King. I don't have a daughter. I gave up everything to become a citizen of Japan. So, I don't have a daughter. Watching this, Seong Ji-han muttered, so that was it. Yoon Se, having seen the interview, had a smile on her face, as cold as Sword King's. So, that's why the reporters swarmed. Why would they cling to such a distasteful interview? Truly disgusting, right? Yes. Don't bother about them. They're just filthy beings. At his words, Yoon Se, who let out a faint chuckle, gripped Seong Ji-han's collar tightly. Uncle, can I ask you for a favor? What favor? You promised that if I found a clue to that quest, you'd grant me one wish. The Colosseum map quest was the last quest remaining for Seong Ji-han after completing all the bronze quests. Epic quest. Find the Shadow Queen located near the spectators in the Colosseum map and provoke her. Reward. 50,000 achievement points. The constellation, Shadow Queen's interest. A quest of the hardest difficulty within the bronze tier, where you can earn a constellation's interest. Yoon Seiya mentioned it with confidence in her voice. Seiya, I'll gladly fulfill all your wishes even if you didn't find a clue. Ah, that's no fun. Yoon Seiya smiled weakly and spoke. I think I've found her. The Shadow Queen. This mission is survival. Boom. Boom. As the drum sound signaling the start of the Colosseum map echoed, Seong Ji-han smirked. Fortunately, he landed on the survival map out of the options: survival, defense, and dungeon. I can verify the story Seiya told me. Ah, landed on survival. Lol, there's nothing to watch. It's going to be another massacre show. Isn't that the fun part now? For real, getting destroyed by Sword King sucks, but this relieves my stress now. When the survival map was selected, the viewers were sure that Seong Ji-han would rank first. Although he had been ranking first in defense and dungeon as well, there was no room for variables in the survival map. Perhaps that's why the viewers were discussing the recent issue rather than the outcome of the soon-to-start game. Did Seong Ji-han talk about the Korea-Japan match? Why would he talk about getting thrashed, quickly reach diamond and enact justice? Talking about justice to a bronze? Lol, Seong Ji-han hasn't been on BattleNet for even a month now. Seong Ji-han has a better bronze record than Sword King, you know? Comparing a bronze record, lol, seriously. The conversation about the Korea-Japan match defeat naturally flowed to Sword King's interview. Is Sword King's interview even real? Saying he doesn't have a daughter gave me the chills. He seems insane now. Was he always this rude? How dare you insult Sword King? Sword King my ass, he's just that Ito guy. How can you call him that Ito guy? I'll sue. Prepare the PDFs. Lol, the fan club's playing well. But everyone in Sword King fan club would have left after watching today's match, right? I'm still here. Before the game started, Seong Ji-han, after skimming through the countless chats, could sense the noticeable decrease in Sword King fan club. The image of Sword King crushing Korea on Independence Day was a clear shock to those who still had lingering hopes. The chatroom atmosphere isn't too bad. Having taken a clear stance by breaking the Sword King statue earlier, and with Ito himself claiming he doesn't have a daughter, the audience was now more sympathetic towards Yoon Seiya. Of course, many subscribers in this channel are inherently supportive of me, but the atmosphere was day and night compared to his previous life. Seong Ji-han spoke with satisfaction. I won't mention Ito on the broadcast. After all, it's a personal matter. However, for those still holding on to him, I hope you come to your senses soon. He knew. Even after hearing this, the die-hard fans wouldn't change. But he said this because, I need the Sword King fan club to continue despising me. He aimed to consistently draw the aggression of the Sword King fan club towards himself. They won't listen just because you say that. For real, my mom's a hardcore Sword King fan. She cheered when he swung his dual swords against our country. My dad had an argument with her in the end. Worth fighting over. My dad was yelling like crazy lol. Seems like there are crazies everywhere who are obsessed with Sword King. Even after Sword King devastated the Korean team, there were still many who cheered for his actions. It was unthinkable for Seong Ji-han, who knew the future. Can't help the crazies. Naturally, not everyone can be convinced. For the insane ones, you just let them be. To shift the topic, Seong Ji-han clapped. Now, let's move on from Sword King. Starting today, I'll begin a new challenge in the survival map. A new challenge? What more is there to do in survival? Yes, it's commonly referred to as breaking the barrier. Barrier? You mean, lol, are you talking about that barrier in the audience seats? Nodding, Seong Ji-han recalled the story he had just heard from Yoon Seiya. The initial candidates for the Shadow Queen were two. Inherently, various elves are summoned randomly to the audience seats of the Colosseum. While most elves were served by dark elves in a similar fashion, each elf looked slightly different in every game. However, only 3 elves appeared the same in every game. Firstly, commonly called the Elf Queen. While most elves were accompanied by 1 or 2 dark elves, this Elf Queen was accompanied by 4 dark elves. This Elf Queen, she is more lavishly adorned than any other elf. Given the clue, Queen, she seems fitting. In the exact center of the northern part of the Colosseum, the Elf Queen sat with a bored posture. She was the first candidate Yoon Seiya had pointed out. The next one is easy to find. Their roles are reversed. Role reversal. While elves typically served dark elves, there was a peculiar dark elf who was served by two white elves. This dark elf is in the south of the Colosseum, directly in the middle, just like the elf queen mentioned before. Opposite the elf queen, in perfect symmetry, was the dark elf. I also consider this dark elf a candidate for the shadow queen. She leans more towards the shadow clue. Both the northern elf queen and the reversed role southern dark elf were consistently featured in every survival game and were frequently captured by mixed-race camera enthusiasts. Their images had even become popular memes online. But this information is easily found with a little search, so I looked for something unique. After endlessly reviewing a BattleTuber's videos, Yoon Seiya found another peculiar figure. There's a dark elf among them, with black eyes. Dark elves with black irises weren't unusual, but the one Yoon Seiya pointed out was distinctively different. Not just the iris, but even the sclera was pitch black. Her appearance changes every time, with different hair lengths, sometimes beautiful, sometimes not. Seong Ji-han, after reviewing the videos, saw a dark elf with entirely black eyes looking at the audience from the back row. And this was consistent for the first 5 minutes in every game. What do you mean? When players are first summoned, this elf always locks eyes with the eventual winner of the game. Seong Ji-han was taken aback, predicting the winner in advance? You checked all this from the recorded games? Yes. A proper investigation requires this much. I only asked her so she would be bored, but, going beyond just identifying the unique elves in the audience, she even cross-referenced who the black-eyed elf was looking at. She's thorough, befitting a student council president. Thinking about the elf queen of the north and the dark elf of the south, they seemed like obvious candidates. Both emitted a strong presence, and either could easily be the shadow queen. If it were a simple quest, I would have guessed one of them. Sometimes, simple reasoning was the answer, but this was an epic quest. Given the high rewards, even for a bronze quest, the more concealed black-eyed dark elf seemed a more likely candidate for the shadow queen. I need to see this black-eyed dark elf for myself. Seong Ji-han looked at the audience from his summoned position. Naturally, he would be the winner of this game. His gaze was directed northeast. Though quite far away, with his enhanced vision, he could clearly see the elves. However, the top of the audience stands is obscured. The top of the audience section looked as if it was shrouded in mist, making it indistinct. Was this obscurity intentional? A smile tugged at the corners of Seong Ji-han's lips. I'll have to get closer. As the game began, Seong Ji-han closed the chat window and immediately pulled out the Phoenix's arrow and started sprinting. It's Seong Ji-han. Players in his path tried to dodge upon seeing him, but the tip of Phoenix's arrow easily pierced through them. Damn, such rotten luck, we're doomed. For the players participating in the survival map of Bronze League Gangnam 1 area, Seong Ji-han was now considered a natural disaster. An unavoidable calamity. He was a monster among monsters that they hoped they would never encounter. Seong Ji-han's kill count surged rapidly. From 3 to 5, and then 5 to 10, the other players huddled together in fear. That insane monster. Don't come here, I said, don't come here. May our divine protector shield us with eternal light and guide us with sacred wisdom. While Battle.net may be an unbalanced game, this was too much. Everyone hoped that he would quickly reach level 25 and get promoted so that they never see him again. That was the shared sentiment of all the current participants. Meanwhile, after achieving an easy 10 kills, Seong Ji-han halted his onslaught. 10 kills should be enough. Statistically, 10 kills almost guaranteed a first-place finish, so further slaughter was unnecessary. There was even a risk that if he killed too many, the game could end prematurely. Human, halt. As he approached the northeast, a group of orcs tried to block the solo-charging Seong Ji-han, but with a swift movement, he effortlessly crushed their heads. Like stepping on stepping stones, he hopped over the heads of the orc horde. Kue, seeing their comrades' heads burst in an instant, the remaining orc leader, with wide eyes, realized Seong Ji-han was not someone to be trifled with and discreetly dodged out of the way. Even monsters classified as enemies avoided Seong Ji-han. He was an equivalent to a disaster in the survival map. Now, I can see her. Having reached the edge of the map, Seong Ji-han was finally able to spot the dark elf with black eyes, his original target, beyond the barrier. Is that the elf? the dark elf with black eyes? Its eyes, devoid of any whites and entirely shrouded in blackness, seemed eerily spine-chilling. Indeed, it looks extraordinary. However, her appearance was ordinary, at least by the standards of the elves. She was just as beautiful as the other elves sitting in the audience. Let's see. Seong Ji-han aimed the phoenix's arrow towards the barrier. Even though he's currently only in the Bronze League, Seong Ji-han, who was at the pinnacle in his past life, knew the strength of this barrier. It's comparable to a barrier made by a platinum, no, a diamond rank support. The Diamond League was the highest tier, where the national representatives who participated in today's match belonged. Even though Seong Ji-han had dominated the Bronze League ecosystem, the Diamond League was a world of a much higher caliber. However, that's what makes it worth challenging. Seong Ji-han, with a gleeful smile, felt his inner energy surge. The power of the middle, upper, and lower dantians converged on the phoenix's arrow. Whoosh! Flames erupted from the tip of the arrow, just like when the statue of the conqueror drew its bow. The phoenix's arrow unleashed its immense firepower. With this shot, I should be able to penetrate the barrier. The phoenix's arrow, which had a limit of 5 shots, was incredibly powerful. Even the diamond-grade barrier should be penetrable by the blazing phoenix's arrow. However, for now, I'll use it as a spear. Nameless Divine Arts, Triad of Martial Mastery, Way of Immortals. Using the unification of the 3 dantians, originally based on swordsmanship, Seong Ji-han could wield any weapon. The phoenix's arrow was no exception. Its size made it usable as a spear. Crash! The flaming phoenix's arrow collided directly with the barrier. Screech! From the pointed tip, an aura resembling smoke emanated, challenging the barrier's strength. The bright white flames tried to push through the blue protective shield. But breaking through the diamond rank barrier seemed impossible. Lol, told you it wouldn't work. Holy S****. If he breaks through, he's gonna be insanely overpowered. Yep, he's already crazy op still, breaking the barrier is too much. Yeah, no matter how crappy the game is, that's just impossible. Viewers believed that the game still had some integrity seeing Seong Ji-han's spear being halted by the barrier. No matter how he defeated the flesh golem in one blow and earned the conqueror's statue's recognition, that was just a boss-level monster in the game. But this barrier was a system-enforced obstacle, surely he couldn't break it, right? The viewers assumed that Seong Ji-han was trying something different for entertainment since the survival map was getting predictable. He won't get through, right? Lol, he'll give up soon lol. Yet, they expected Seong Ji-han to give up soon, however. I can't break through. Seong Ji-han withdrew the phoenix's arrow and once again unfolded the skill, Way of Immortals. Screech! Once again, flames rose against the barrier. The target was the same as before. The barrier had slightly caved in from where he had struck it earlier. It's working. Boom! Crash! Bang! Boom! Seong Ji-han unleashed a series of thrusts. With each thrust, the energy from the lower dantians diminished rapidly. The energy from the middle and upper dantians was also depleting quickly, but the speed of Seong Ji-han's attacks only increased. What's happening? How many times has he struck it? Why is he speeding up? He's hit it like 10 times, who's counting that? It's 13 times, so fast, it's insane. On the 14th thrust of the Way of Immortals. This is the last of my energy, with all the power from every dantians focused into that one thrust. Poof! The barrier could no longer withstand it and was pierced by the phoenix's arrow. Of course, it didn't shatter completely. Just a small hole, right where the phoenix's arrow had persistently struck. But even that was enough to astonish the viewers. Wow, he really pierced it? Really? At this rate, he should quickly move to silver. What about silver? He could go straight to gold. How could a bronze rank player break a system-enforced barrier? While they were amazed, viewers also felt a sense of disappointment. The hole is too small though. He won't be able to meet the elf behind the barrier. Lol, if he had, the number of subscribers would have skyrocketed, right? Though he pierced the barrier, the hole was not large enough for a person to pass through. If only it was bigger, he could have approached the elves in the audience, the viewers thought with a hint of regret. Meanwhile, Seong Ji-han smirked bitterly, noticing the elves in the audience showing no particular interest, even after he had pierced the barrier. So, this doesn't provoke them. Especially the target, the dark elf with black eyes, who kept staring at him with those eerie eyes, unchanged from before. Seong Ji-han observed the hole he had made in the barrier. It was just large enough to make direct eye contact with the dark elf, without the interference of the barrier. Since he had exhausted all his energy, there wasn't much else he could do. He decided to look directly through the hole at the dark elf. Swoosh! As he pulled out the phoenix's arrow, the barrier started to regenerate, but before it completely healed, Seong Ji-han got a glimpse beyond it. And then, for the first time since his regression, he felt a chilling sensation run down his spine. Beyond the pierced barrier was darkness. It was an ominous, lightless void, reminiscent of the eerie black eyes of the dark elf. Was that the true nature behind the barrier? Swoosh! As the barrier regenerated, the scene beyond reverted back to the usual audience of elves. The dark elf being served by another elf, and the one in the far back, staring at Seong Ji-han with those dark eyes. But having seen that void, Seong Ji-han felt a cold sweat run down his back. That power is beyond what I anticipated. The darkness beyond the barrier, even by his standards from before regression, was terrifyingly powerful. Was this the level of power expected of a constellation? Why did he suddenly react like that? It's the first time I've seen Seong Ji-han surprised. Lol. What did he see? He peeked through the barrier at the elf, but all he saw was... Shush. The viewers watching Seong Ji-han's broadcast were puzzled. They had only seen Seong Ji-han look surprised when he peeked through the hole, but they hadn't perceived the darkness themselves. Only Seong Ji-han had observed that incomparable force. 50 survivors remain. Survival map, Colosseum, concludes. Seong Ji-han's eyes dimmed as he read the message. I'll test the other directions as well, north and south. While the two elves that looked every bit like queens were obvious targets, Seong Ji-han was already half convinced that the dark-eyed elf and the darkness he saw were related to the Shadow Queen. You have achieved first place in the survival game. Your level has increased by 1. For achieving first place, your experience and GP gain rate increases by 50%. You've earned 1,500 GP. Seong Ji-han quickly dismissed the now familiar system messages. A level up in just 3 games. As his level had now reached the 20s, the pace of leveling up had slowed. This isn't enough. Seong Ji-han clenched and unclenched his fist with a sigh. For the first time, he felt dissatisfaction with his growth rate. To confront that intense darkness, to provoke the Shadow Queen, he needed more power. Therefore, he decided to finally use the achievement points he had accumulated so far. I've accumulated 75,200 achievement points until now. He had already completed all the major in-game achievement quests. Your channel has surpassed 50,000 subscribers. You have completed the achievement, Subscriber Gathering, 2. Earn 3,000 achievement points as a reward. From level 16 to 22, by completing minor quests including subscriber quests, he had managed to gather achievement points. It's time to use them. Seong Ji-han opened the achievement store and spent 50,000 points to upgrade the store. The achievement store has upgraded to LV.5. Now, the limit for lower upgrade items is up to LV.2. The additional constellation slot item is now available. Seong Ji-han nodded while reading the system messages. Additional constellation slot. I knew it would be available eventually, but it's come earlier than expected. Another system message popped up. Currently, Earth is in the tutorial season. Even if you purchase the additional constellation slot item, it will not be visible in the status window. Of course, the concept of a constellation doesn't exist yet. Seong Ji-han opened the upgraded store to see its contents. Achievement Store LV.5, Achievement Store Upgrade 100,000 P. Status Window Expansion LV.1 10,000 P. Additional Class Slot LV.2 50,000 P. Inventory Expansion LV.1 10,000 P. Additional Title Slot LV.1 10,000 P. Emergency Recovery Item 10,000 P. Additional Constellation Slot LV.1 50,000 P. The prices made him frown involuntarily. It's expensive. Upon reaching level 5 of the store, the cost of items had drastically increased. Both the additional class slot LV.2 and the additional constellation slot required 50,000 points. The store's effects are incredibly beneficial, so this cost is expected. Yes. Hadn't the achievement store provided effects that could distort the very foundation of the system? Seong Ji-han rationalized the costs, reflecting on the problem at hand. The power to oppose the Shadow Queen. For now, adding a class is impossible. He had 25,200 achievement points left. To add another class, he would need 50,000 points. Based on his experience, it didn't seem likely that he'd gather the remaining points by the next promotion. I don't need an inventory or status window expansion right now. Both would be nice to have, but neither would immediately add to his current power. Among the available upgrades, the only one that seemed useful was the title slot. Seong Ji-han examined the title he currently held. Tutorial Conqueror, Bronze. A title granted to the player who ranks first in the tutorial. In the Bronze League, all attributes increase by +1, and there's a 20% experience gain effect. It was a basic title, but it was quite useful, and when I reach level 25, I can obtain another title. Level 25. The highest level achievable in Bronze, and the level at which promotion battles become available. But one doesn't simply get a title for reaching the level cap in Bronze. But I'm different. My martial power is now at 30. Martial power of 30. This was the requirement to obtain the Nameless Divine Arts. And if he successfully acquires the Nameless Divine Arts here, I'll obtain the Successor of Martial God title. The title, Successor of Martial God, was a high-performance title that Seong Ji-han had used up until his death in his previous life. Equipping it would greatly boost his abilities. He decided to purchase the additional title slot. You've purchased the additional title slot LV.1. 10,000 achievement points have been deducted, as he finished his purchase. Knock. Knock. There was a knock at his door. Uncle, I saw you finished the game. You're back? Yes, I'm here. Come in. With a gentle push, Yoon Seo entered. She looked much more relaxed than when she was hounded by reporters outside Sword Palace. How's the search for the Shadow Queen going? Got any leads? I'm fairly certain that the dark elf with the black eyes you mentioned is suspicious. Actually, I'm convinced it's her. Really? I couldn't tell from the screen. What I saw was different. Seong Ji-han narrated what he saw through the hole, and Yoon Seo's eyes sparkled with intrigue. So the view beyond the barrier was entirely different. Did you complete the quest then? No, I couldn't provoke her. I'm planning to be more prepared before I do. Oh, that's a shame then. Hearing the quest wasn't completed, Yoon Seo seemed a bit disappointed. She was about to leave when Seong Ji-han stopped her. Seo, wait. You helped me find the Shadow Queen. So, tell me what favor you wanted to ask of me. Well, it's still not confirmed yet. It's okay, I'm curious. She hesitated for a moment, then finally said, I was thinking about moving. Moving? Out of here? Yes, I don't want to live here anymore. She glanced out of the room. Even if I don't want to think about it, memories resurface, especially on days like today. It was evident who she was talking about. Even though Yoon Seo usually maintained a cheerful demeanor, now, looking at the house, she seemed melancholic. Seong Ji-han nodded silently. The penthouse of Sword Palace, unnecessarily vast, with remnants of the Sword King's presence everywhere, had always been a sore point. With the last interview of Sword King, it was clear that he won't be returning to Korea. That meant, it was time to think about moving. All right, let's move. I've earned some money recently, so it should be enough. What? No need. You barely have money. She was startled, and Seong Ji-han looked amused. Seo, I'm not that broke. Haha. Never mind, uncle, you're broke. What's there for me to take advantage of? He chuckled, wondering how she thought he was so destitute. Listen, I made some money at the auction. It's better to invest in real estate than leaving it in the bank, right? Right? Real estate. Gangnam. Gangnam is always profitable. Yoon Seo saying this made Seong Ji-han remember his past life. Destruction took place everywhere, and after Korea kept finishing last in the East Asian League and was driven to the brink, the land in Gangnam became worthless. Well, Korea won't fail this time. Since he'd regressed, Korea wouldn't keep finishing last like it did before. But if you're using your money, why ask me? Just buy it. Well, I'm still a minor, and I need a representative. Plus, I'd have to check out houses. You've been so busy lately, I felt bad asking. He ruffled her hair gently. What's there to feel bad about? We're family. Still, being family doesn't mean taking everything for granted. Mentioning family, a shadow momentarily crossed her bright face. It was clear whom she was thinking of. We need to move as soon as possible. Seong Jihan, too, didn't want to stay here any longer, even more so now. He playfully flexed his arms and said, anything you need, just let me know. So showy, uncle, you're just going to live off me again. Your house? It's our house. Ahem. I'll contact the administration office tomorrow. Should we start looking at some options? Yoon Se was quick to act. Before he knew it, she had already contacted a real estate agent and they were on their way to view a house. I think it's better to invest in a house than to keep money lying around, she reasoned. She was introduced to luxury homes, looking to invest part of the 50 billion she received from the Sword King. The first one was a high-end apartment located by the Han River in Gangnam. Is this place really 80 billion won? Yes, it's a great place. Newly built, with a fantastic view of the Han River. The total area is around 80 pyong. The apartment, located on the 30th floor, indeed seemed worth the hefty price tag. The luxurious interior, the expansive area, and the perfect view of the Han River added to its appeal. Many famous players, as well as celebrities, live here. It's a place that ensures privacy. The price is lower than the market rate since the owner wants to sell it quickly. While it was a good house from a common perspective, Yoon Se, accustomed to the vastness of Sword Palace, felt the apartment was too cramped. The living room, which was supposed to have a great view of the Han River, was barely half the size of her current room at the penthouse. She whispered, "This is 80 billion. The agent, sensing a potential sale, eagerly asked, "How do you find it?" "Wow, it's really nice," Se replied, but her tone wasn't convincing. Seong Jihan sensed her dissatisfaction. She seems to be experiencing a culture shock. Remembering their spacious penthouse, he agreed that they needed a bigger place. "Although it's nice, we would like to see other options," Jihan said, shifting his gaze from the Han River. "Space is more important to us than the view. If Seiya becomes a player, we'll need room for the BattleNet connector." The agent, intrigued, asked, "Is Ms. Yoon Se going to receive a gift soon?" "Probably," she replied. The agent, clearly a fan, said, "Your entire family has impressive gifts, and with your uncle being so remarkable." "You know me too?" "Of course. I'm a huge BattleNet fan. I even subscribed to Mr. Seong Jihan's channel. I watched you break the barrier yesterday." He was genuinely surprised to meet a subscriber. Although he was popular in his past life, it was mostly in the US. This was his first encounter with a fan in Korea. The agent continued, "There are spacious houses in Ilwindong preferred by players. Would you be open to those?" "Alright, I'd like that, then I'll guide you there." While they were on the move in the real estate agent's car, a phone ring echoed. Seong Jihan received a call. It was from Park Yoon-sik, the BattleNet department manager. He responded quickly, considering I messaged him this morning. Jihan had messaged Park Yoon-sik earlier, expecting to notify him before going on their house hunt. The reply came sooner than expected. "Mr. Seong Jihan, this is Park Yoon-sik from BattleNet. Yes, Mauger. How did your report go?" "Well, the administration has decided not to delay the donation of Sword Palace any longer. Public opinion hasn't been favorable since the match with Japan, has it?" "Indeed. Though some still support the Sword King, after the devastating defeat, many have turned away. The delay in the donation of the high-value Sword Palace was because of public sentiment. If the government accepted the donation, people would see it as giving up on persuading the Sword King. Until yesterday, the Sword King was incredibly popular in Korea, but now. And the sense of betrayal is immense. I hope their anger doesn't turn towards us. Most people see you and Yoon Se as victims. Of course, some criticize you, but they're a minority." "That's expected." Yoon-sik asked, "So, may we announce the donation of Sword Palace?" "Yes, Seiya, is that all right?" "Yes, that's why we're moving." "Got it. We'll proceed." After ending the call with Yoon-sik, the real estate agent who was driving asked, "You're donating Sword Palace?" "Yes, that's also why we're moving." "Wow, that's remarkable. I would have held onto such a property no matter what." Jihan gave a wry smile. To many, donating a top-tier building in Gangnam, especially not selling but donating it to the government, would seem insane. But for Jihan, who knew the future, it was a necessary action. Still, with your abilities and Miss Seiya soon getting a gift, you can buy a building like that again. "Who knows if I'll get a gift? It's all random." The agent laughed. Given the lineage of Miss Yoon Se, she's bound to get one. With the priestess, the sword king, and even Mr. Seong, everyone possesses incredible abilities. It's purely random. Saya tried to dismiss it, but Jihan could see the hope and expectation in her eyes. She's hoping too much. Jihan's face hardened slightly. There was 1 week left until Yoon Sea's birthday, and Seong Jihan knew the rank of the gift she would receive on her birthday. It'll definitely be F rank. The public's perception of an F-grade gift was pitiful. They say it's better not to receive it at all. If one hadn't received it, there's hope of getting a better gift in the future. But once you receive an F-rank gift, your fate as a player is sealed with that rank. I know it's a gift is very valuable, but the public doesn't see it that way. They probably see it as trash. Although the backlash and ridicule towards Yoon Se won't be as harsh as previous life, it's clear that she will still face some mockery from the media and netizens. I need to lower her expectations. Sea's anticipation for her gift seemed quite high. On the surface, she dismisses the importance of the gift, saying, "It's all random anyway." But having witnessed the abilities of her mother, uncle, and her detestable father, she undoubtedly has expectations. The disappointment will be immense once she receives her gift. Especially considering how she almost gave up on life in their previous life, he couldn't help but worry. For some reason, none of the houses introduced by the real estate agent in Gangnam seemed appealing. "So, I'll contact you again later." "Yes, take your time." In the end, Seong Jihan and Yoon Se returned to the Sword Palace without any fruitful results, letting out a heavy sigh. "Uncle, we really live in a great house. They all seemed so small, didn't they?" "Yeah. I guess my standards are too high." While the houses they could afford were impressive, the penthouse in Sword Palace was on another level. Having lived there for so long, adjusting her standards in just a day wasn't easy for Saya. "We have no choice but to adapt, right?" "Right. The more houses we see, the more realistic our standards will become." "I'm actually more worried about something else." "Huh? What else is there to worry about?" "Your gift." When Seong Jihan bluntly brought up the topic, Saya blinked in surprise. "My gift? Why? You seem to have high hopes for it." "Come on, I'm not expecting much. It's all random, right? I might not even get one." "Are you really not hoping for something great?" When Seong Jihan asked seriously. "Well." After a brief pause, Saya replied, "Of course, I dream of an SSS rank gift to get back at Ito, or to change our current situation, but those are just dreams, right?" "Good to know. But remember, the higher the hopes, the bigger the disappointment. And people keep talking about lineage, but there's no such thing." "Saya, do you know the rank of my gift?" "What is it?" "SS. SSS. It's F rank. Remember, the Wanderer's Insight." "No way. Stop joking." Saya vehemently shook her head. She knew that it was Seong Jihan's gift in the past, F rank, the Wanderer's Insight. She had seen him drown his sorrows in alcohol after receiving it. But there's no way his gift is still a F rank. Considering he had reached level 22 without ever losing first place and even shattered the Colosseum barrier, how could he have an F-grade gift? Yet, status window. Seong Jihan showed her his status window directly. "Look here. Gift, Wanderer's Insight, F rank. Able to see the details of other players." "Really?" Yoon Se stared at the status window with trembling eyes. It was unbelievable that the gift of a player, who had shown such outstanding performance, was truly an F rank. Saya, who seemed to be in disbelief while staring at the status window, finally responded. "Uncle." "Yes? Why are you only showing me the gift section?" "It's because of a promise I made to my subscribers." "Hee. Are you hiding something?" "Who knows? Wow, you're stingy. Show me, show me." As Saya started to whine, Seong Jihan deactivated the status window. "Then I'll show you on the day you receive your gift, as a birthday present." "Wow, how stingy can you be? Who gives a status window viewing as a birthday gift? Should I gift you something else then?" You should give a gift and also show the status window?" Seong Jihan chuckled and nodded. "Okay, I'll do both, but, about your gift, don't get your hopes up too high." Seriously. If there's any media coverage about your gift, just ignore it." I got it. Saya took off her shoes with a flourish and entered the house. Her actions seemed a bit rougher than usual. Watching her, Seong Jihan narrowed his eyes. She still hasn't let go of her expectations. Even after showing her his own gift. Well, I didn't expect her to be completely convinced with just a few words, nothing to be done. There were still 6 days until her birthday. He'd need to continue the conversation and convince her. On the way to school on August 17th, Saya, gifts are random. You know that, right? I know. Don't rely too much on the gift gem either. I heard that Lim Haeyeon, while being the student council president and contributing a lot to the school, got a supporting gift. She have a supporting gift? Really? Yes. Gifts are just a matter of luck. They're literally just gifts. I get it. I won't expect too much, Saya replied with a bitter smile. Why was he only talking about gifts so much since yesterday? It's like he knows that my gift will be a failure. Of course, she could understand her uncle's concerns. Whenever the topic of her upcoming gift was brought up by those around her, they would often say, "Your parents got good ones, so you'll get a good one too," which was becoming a repetitive and annoying sentiment. He's probably just trying to prevent me from being disappointed if the result isn't good. So Saya thought of her uncle's words as encouragement meant to make her feel better. But, even after returning from school, the encouragement continued. Back home. Yeah, uncle. As you know, gifts are random. So, excessive expectations are harmful. I heard that in the morning, you know, but you didn't hear it at lunch, right? You will hear it in the evening too. Okay, I got it. The next morning, Saya? About the gift. Enough. I got it, it's random, you know that right? And in the evening, Saya, even a F-rank gift can be useful, as you can see. I'm proof of that. Say that after showing me your status window without hiding anything. That was supposed to be a birthday present, remember? Forget it. If you're going to keep repeating that, I'm going to my room. Gifts are random. Seriously, and again, the next morning. Saya, what are you going to say? The gift is random, right? Oh, repetition really does work. Yes, so stop it. No, it's important to drill it into your mind now. So, shall we go over it again? The gift is random and it has nothing to do with lineage. I'll memorize it, really, that's why I'm saying it. Even during the drive to school, Saya kept getting lectured by Jihan about the gift equals random theory. Sigh, Saya. Why are you sighing? As Yoon Saya entered the classroom and took her seat, Kim Hisa, who sat next to her, tilted her head and asked. Oh, it's about my gift. Why are you worried? You'll surely get at least an S rank. No, the gift is random and has nothing to do with lineage. Yoon Saya replied and then realized something. The narrative she had been subjected to by her uncle over the past few days had come out naturally. Repetition really was effective. Not always. Among the first-generation players, I heard many of the top rankers' children have been outstanding. Really? Yeah. You know my family is in the media business, right? Yoon Saya nodded. Kim Hisa, being the granddaughter of a major media company, knew many inside stories, including news not yet revealed to the public. I've heard that, while it's not statistically proven, when considering cases from foreign rankers as well, lineage seems to play a role. Even so, my uncle keeps telling me not to expect too much because it's random. I think I'd feel better not expecting too much. Your uncle? Isn't his gift at least sulfur monosulfide rank? He always the ranks first? I don't know. He won't tell me. Though she knew Seong Jihan's gift was an F rank, she couldn't tell Kim Hisa. Who knows what would happen if she did? It was best to play dumb. Saya, you're receiving your gift on the 22nd, right? Yeah. So, you'll be in the gift hall before midnight? The gift hall. A place packed with gift gems, it was believed to bestow blessings upon students yet to receive their gifts. Especially for academy students turning 18, they were given the privilege of receiving blessings there all day. Of course. So, would you like to do an interview with our reporter that day? Interview? Yeah. It's an era where self-promotion is important. It's about publicizing your amazing gift to the world. Through your newspaper? Yes. Hee. Kim Hisa grinned brightly. An exclusive interview about the gift of the Sword King's daughter, Yoon Saya, would be a massive topic of discussion. It was natural for her to be eager about the interview. Nah, there's no need for that. Perhaps Seong Jihan's repeated teachings had had an effect and Yoon Saya immediately declined Kim Hisu's offer. It'll be embarrassing if it's not a good one. Come on, there's no way that will happen. It's not yet proven, but there seems to be a correlation between parents and their children's gift ranks. I'll do the interview if I get a good one. Okay, that should work. Come on, Saya, But Kim Hisa, with a bright smile, seemed to ignore Seiya's words. The smile seemed to say, "Yoon Seiya, your opinion does not matter." The atmosphere was slightly different from usual. No, Yoon Seiya felt something was off and was about to firmly express her refusal. Everyone. But the classroom door opened and the homeroom teacher walked in, ending their conversation. "Ah, the teacher's here. Right. Let's talk again later." As Yoon Seiya turned to face forward, Kim Hisa nodded with a smile and adjusted her posture. However, the look in Kim Hisu's eyes, as she faced forward, had turned cold. The thread has already been cut. I don't know why she's still holding onto it. Although she had been friendly with Yoon Seiya up to now, it was only because of her relationship with the Sword King. When the Sword King went to Japan, she continued to maintain her relationship with Yoon Seiya because she wasn't sure if he had genuinely abandoned her. I'm acting like her friend despite having no need to do so anymore. Doesn't she know her place? She doesn't understand that an interview will be useful to prove her worth. She clicked her tongue thinking, well, there's no need to get her permission anyway. What could she do if I decide to go ahead? Kim Hee-soo smirked. Which would be the bigger scoop? If Yoon Seiya gets a good gift? Or if she gets the worst gift? It just shouldn't be a mediocre rank. Either it should be the best or the absolute worst. It would be great if she got something like an F rank. With that thought, Kim Hee-soo eagerly looked forward to Seiya's birthday.